All right. Good. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Parks and Community Service Commission meeting. This is regular meeting at April 9, 2025, and it is 7:01 p.m. I call to order the meeting today. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. I would request our Commissioner Osland to lead us for our Pledge of Allegiance this month.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. Item number 3, roll call. Madam Clerk, would you please?
Ready. Chair Mitra,
Present.
Vice Chair Breed,
Here.
Commissioner Dorlick,
Present.
Commissioner Keeney,
Present.
Commissioner Levy,
Present.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Present.
Commissioner Osland,
Present.
and our student commissioner is absent this evening.
Thank you. Item number 4, special items announcements. 4.1, temporary employee of the month, Marlene Linfelter. Okay, sorry if I call it wrong. Introduced by Kathy Sawyer, administrative coordinator. Kathy Sawyer.
We didn't even plan to dress alike, but we did. So there you go. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce to you Marlene Kleinfelter, Parks and Community Services Temporary Employee of the Month. Marlene joined the frontline team in May of 2019, and she immediately became invaluable to us. With her previous experience in retail management, she has a solid foundation in customer service and procedural background. Marlene covers the counters at our community centers and both pools. She makes each location her home and her primary focus of the day. She offers fantastic customer service. And I will say, if she is absent from the senior center for too long, you can count on those seniors coming to the front counter and finding out where she is. She's a tremendous support to the staff and can be counted on for special projects. In February, Marlene played a key role in our annual credit refund conversion project, which is a very involved project. She thoroughly researched each account credit, about 500 in total, gathered the necessary GL numbers to ensure that proper refund processing occurred. She also was instrumental in the organizing of the spreadsheet, which helped streamline the process and resulted in significant time savings. The project was time sensitive and required a high level of attention to detail, which Marlene managed while covering the busy counters at the senior center and the pools. Her work was completed efficiently and in record time. If there is ever a project or task to tackle, Marlene is the go-to person. She has an exceptional ability to improve processes and enhance workflow. We really appreciate her contributions. Marlene is fully capable at any of our community centers and be counted on to step in for our office technicians when needed. Throughout the year, she has assisted in training and mentoring new office assistants and cashiers. Her warm smile, positive energy, and can-do spirit inspire and motivate everyone she works with. And as if working with Parks and Community Services was not enough, she regularly works at Human Resources, helping on special projects there as well. And she's very busy right now with all the hiring and things going on. The city keeps her busy, and we are so happy to have her here on our team. So on behalf of the city of San Ramon, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Marlene for her dedication, professionalism, and unwavering passion for improving our parks experience. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
I just want to say thank you. The recognition, really means a lot to me. You can never have enough recognition. And the special projects, they all wind down to great customer service because we do this to enhance the process. Kathy also, she's not giving herself any credit for, setting this new process up, but you know, the customers got their money back, you know, in due time, which is what, you know, the policy is. And I really enjoy working and doing those kind of things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Merlin. All right. Okay, item number 4.2, special announcement. Do we have anything special announcement this
Of
week?
course,
Ms.
we
Pan?
have, we always have some special announcements. So, but before I fill you in on a bunch of important dates, I want to say thank you. You specifically, I guess it shouldn't really be me, it's all of you, deserve great thanks because you have interviewed more candidates for our committees, reviewed applications, reviewed the different submittals from the teens for the teen council, and gotten to every appointment and time that we asked. And we just really appreciate that. So I wanted to say thanks and recognize you because that takes a lot of extra effort in already busy schedules. So that's first.
Thank you.
Now, you are welcome. Now I do have some dates I want to make you aware of, and I always have some, but just some quick reminders that Quail Run Cricket Pitch Celebration is planned for Friday, April 18th at, I think, 5:30. Hopefully you've all gotten that, and if you can make it, that would be great. We've got some of the San Ramon Cricket Association people will be out there, as well as some of our other local cricket clubs as they're growing in popularity. So it would be great if you can attend. We've also got the Senior Volunteer Recognition Dinner coming up on Thursday, April 24th. You should have gotten an invitation and an opportunity to RSVP for that. So make sure you do RSVP so we get the correct counts. And then you might not be aware, but the City Council Budget Workshop, we're going to be talking about the budget tonight, but the actual budget workshop with the City Council will be on Tuesday, April 15th. And that's not one of the regular normal City Council meeting nights at 7 p.m. So I just wanted to make you aware. You can always watch it on Zoom if you can't make the meeting that night or just are curious about it, just so you're up to speed on what's being talked about. And then there's so many events. I think April might well be one of the busiest months in the city of San Ramon, April and October anyway. April 11th, the Preservation Jazz Band will be at the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. Pretty excited about that, part of our presenting series. April 19th is our Earth Day celebration at Forest Home Farm and also our Arbor Day. Tree planting and Parks Make Life Better. April 26th, that's a big, big day. We've got the Historic Foundation Sheep Shearing Day, the Library Foundation's A Night in the Stacks, and then the Doherty Station Library is also doing a Little Red Riding Hood puppet show. So there's absolutely so much to do on the 26th. Hopefully you can find something you'd like. I want to draw your attention in case you weren't aware of this one, but on May 3rd, we'll have the Children's Makers Market at the Doherty Station Community Arts Center. That was a event that happened out in the park one year, then we partnered with them to do it, and this is the second year at the Art Center. And I wasn't there last year, but I understand it was just wonderful. All the kids and the things that they've made selling them. So that'd be fun if you can make that. The Senior Foundation Fashion Show and Tea is also on May 3rd. And then this is a repeat on May 9th, we'll have our locals only art show reception. And this is at the Art Center as well. And it's kind of exciting to have that again because it's all local artists that participate and a really fun event. So just wanted to make you aware of all that you can participate in. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, moving on. Item number 5, public comments on written communication. At this time, members of the public are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. During public comment, members of the public are permitted to address the commission on the items that are not on the agenda and are within the commission's jurisdictions. Do we have any public comments today?
We do not.
Okay, all right. Moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes, Parks and Community Services regular meeting, March 12th, 2025. Just wanted to give, anybody has any comment? We have gone through. Is there any comments from anybody?
Looks good.
Any change?
Yeah, so moved. Second.
Who did the second?
Well, sorry.
No problem.
Seconded.
I know we got screwed up.
That's fine. Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
Just as long as they get your name spelled right, it's okay.
Somebody needs to press the second.
Steve,
Yep.
Steve did. Okay, now good. So you don't remember you seconded it?
I couldn't push on my screen. My screen.
All right. All right. Anyway, we got the motion moved. All right. 7-4. All right, moving on to item number 7, commission business, 7.1, update on draft 5 years capital improvement program 2025-30. Recommendations, receive, report, and provide comment to staff, presented by John Bell, Public Works Division Manager.
Interesting.
Chair Petro, Vice Chair Judy, Commissioner, staff. My name is John Bell, I'm the Public Services Division Manager. I brought all my friends along tonight. Our 5-year capital improvement program. This presentation is focused mostly on parks, facilities, and aquatics.
I do have several staff here that can help with all kinds of questions. So if there's any questions throughout this presentation, feel free to jump right in. Got it. Yep. All right, overview of the presentation. We're gonna go over a little background of the capital improvement program, the capital budget, our funding sources for parks, facilities, and aquatics, the proposed new capital projects for the 5-year, the draft fiscal year 25-26 capital budget, and then the next steps. So the capital improvement program is an instrument we use to identify projects, fund the projects, plan for the projects, coordinates all the financing and the timing of the projects. Our capital improvement program, we look out 5 years. So for this capital improvement program, we're looking at 2025 to 2030. Just a definition of capital projects, a long-term investment project requires large sums of money to finance, acquire, design, plan, develop, improve. So it's not your routine maintenance. It's not, planting a shrub in a park. It's something larger. Picture on the right is a full replastering of a pool. That would be a capital project. And the capital budget is the first year of the CIP. So as I walk through this, 25, 26, and we're talking about actual funds for next year, we're talking about the capital budget. So our two main funding sources, the infrastructure maintenance fund, that's all in attachment C, gives the line items for all the projects that are funded through infrastructure maintenance fund. That fund is general fund subsidized. So the money that goes into that account comes directly from the general fund. The park development fund on the right, attachment D, that is paid through by fees from the developers. No general fund subsidies in there. So I'm going to start on attachment C, infrastructure maintenance fund, allocated from the general fund. Typically, these are facility and aquatic repairs, traffic signal improvements, other infrastructure repairs that may have a funding shortfall. So the fund was designed strictly for infrastructure maintenance over time. On the bottom of the comment, due to general fund constraints, we did have to reprioritize a lot of projects in the infrastructure maintenance fund for fiscal year 25-26. This slide just is kind of a quick summary of attachment C. Attachment C shows all the infrastructure maintenance fund, but for the importance of tonight, this is a quick addition of 265,000 is going to parks, facilities, and aquatics. And those line items match up on attachment C, shows just we'll go in more detail as we get along with the project, show all the pretty pictures and be able to answer those questions. Park Development Fund, different from Infrastructure Maintenance Fund. And a big change has happened, SB 937. We used to get development fees when permits were issued, kind of brings that timeline up a little bit. We do not get those fees until after occupancy. So that's a big change. We don't know when those funds will come in. So that'll change a lot of the timing. So right now we're anticipating 2.1 million in revenue in 25-26. And then by the end of this 5-year capital improvement program anticipating 9.5 million. No guarantee that we will get those fees, so. We have three big projects that are funded by the Park Development Fund in Attachment D. Comes out to a total of $327,982 from the Park Development Fund going to projects for this presentation. So we'll start off with, in Attachment A shows the proposed new capital projects. We have CIP 200015 is the 50-meter pool renovation. We're gonna get to this in a second. This is a big one, really big one. And I'll talk about it on the next slide. And the second one is a police substation. Only two new projects. So this project is the renovation of the 50-meter pool at the San Ramon Olympic Pool. It's the big pool. We need to update it soon with compliance with county standards, health code standards, USA swimming competition standards. We don't have funding identified, and the long-term cost of doing this full renovation is estimated at 12.5 million right now. Very large, very, very large. But we wanted to put this into the CIP. It's not funded. We don't have any sources of funding, but to put it on everyone's radar that this is coming along, and we need to figure out how we are going to fund it. We're running out of time of doing any maintenance on or renovation on this pool is going to trigger county codes, health codes that we're going to have to meet, and it's going to require substantial renovations to this entire facility. It's not just the pool. If you go into the pit, a lot of these items, if you look at the electrical on the right, there's 24-month lead times for some of this equipment. Very expensive equipment to basically upgrade everything from this pit out to the pool. So program for some design consultation in fiscal year 26-27 to start figuring out what our options are, how we approach this, where we go with it. And, you know, it's further out, construction tentatively scheduled for 2030. So definitely not something we are going to start soon, but we want it to be out in the open and talked about. Police substation. So this is just converting a Airstream trailer into a mobile police substation at the city center. This is going to tie into some of the facility enhancements through City Hall and different areas as we can move some of the police substation that's currently here out to this mobile police station. So those are the new projects. We're going to focus on Attachment B now. We're going to get right into the projects in the facilities and parks categories. As I walk through this, I'll point out which projects are actually being funded through the capital budget with 25-26, or things that we don't want to lose. If you see it in the sheet that it has zero funding, but we might have prior funding that we're still going to do some work. We still need to do some renovations. So I'll point that out as we walk through. So we're starting on the facilities. On the slide, where it says number 1, I'm trying to match it up with your sheets of if you want to follow along with basically if you want to follow with the money. So city facilities, exterior amenities. This is any of our gates, anything on the outside of our facilities. Infrastructure maintenance fund, we had to make some cuts, so there's no renovations. We're just $10,000 for emergency repairs. City facilities, floor covering replacement, infrastructure maintenance fund, $75,000. This was important to get in for this year. This is money for fiscal year 25-26. The locker room tile at DVAC is starting to come up, chip, create, cuts on feet. So it's a safety hazard. That definitely rises it up the priority list for us. Our HVAC duct cleaning, infrastructure maintenance fund, we have $75,000 for repairs. We spent a lot in repairs last year for whatever reason. We actually went to mid-year to boost up the amount of money to make repairs, whether it's City Hall, our service centers, gyms, what have you. Want to keep heat and air running or people get upset. So, and then our roof covering, again, infrastructure maintenance fund, we're just keeping some money in there to anything emergency, any leaks anywhere, we can get that covered. So as one of the last things we're doing at the SROP from this current project that we've currently at the end of the cycle, we're going to do some stucco painting and sealing and to dress up the final touches on that project. So that's $35,000 from the infrastructure maintenance fund. Forest Home Farms, I just didn't want to skip over this, but we're still in the design phase. Don't have any major updates since you were all last updated, but we will be meeting with Trainer on Friday to see what the next steps in the design, and then moving forward with eventually getting a cost estimate to start providing funds in the 5-year CIP. Interior amenities, this is a lot of the things that go into all these buildings and facilities we have. So you'll see washer and dryer, SROP, city hall refrigerator, AEDs. AEDs are a big thing to get through all of our facilities. We fund that through this project. Another item that came up, we received a grant for $140,000, the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant. 27,000 of that's going to go to LED lighting. That was a part of what you can apply the grant. So we're going to do some LED lighting at the Doherty Valley Aquatic Center, San Ramon Service Center, and then we're also going to tie it into the SROP tennis courts. So it's not technically an interior amenity, but with the lighting aspect, we're able to use 27,000 to get more of our facilities up to LED. We're getting close to being 100% LED. Permit center renovation right across the hall. So we currently have 75,000 for design. This is going to tie into several renovations throughout City Hall. There's some movement, changing of office spaces, with police having their own substation now. This is just a design phase. Construction should be 26, 27, but it'll all tie into making this permit center a little more functional for staff, create more space for staff to be able to handle the permitting. The meeting room, meeting access enhancement. So there's a lot of talk of enhancing this council chambers, from the podium to lighting to where the TVs are, where you strain your neck to look at them, upgrading the TVs on the side. So this is going to go into all the enhancements within this building to try to make it a little more functional space. The recreation program equipment replacement. So this is the funding for this is Cultural Growth Fund, and it's shared with the SRV School District. So this is going to be the replacement of the psych lighting, which is some of that backdrop you see on the right, and a projector at Doherty Valley at the Performing Arts Center. It's going to upgrade some of the lighting to LEDs also. But that's a shared cost with the school district. The community center shade structure. We are still working with planning to get the final design and get everything signed off. It's been a process. We're still anticipating completion in May or June, but we really wanted to hit Memorial Day, and it's getting tighter. But we're still trying to get everything signed off, but the plan is moving forward. Pool equipment and replacement, the infrastructure maintenance fund for this year, we have 29,000. This does various components of the pool vacuum, sump pumps, chemical controllers, anything else that fails, that causes a safety issue or would need us to shut down the pool. Park amenities, this is a big fund that we use to plan long-term deferred maintenance of all the amenities within the park. So the pictures on the left of benches and trash cans and barbecues, drinking fountains, all of those are replaced through this fund. We're asking for 261,000 this year. On the right, those are skate park lights. On the far right, you can see the rusting that's occurring. And there's several other projects why this amount is so large that I'll go into. But the base of it is to fund all the amenities. So these are kind of the upgraded features that you will see in the parks after we make the replacements. So we are going to replace the handrails at the Acosta Senior Center. I mean, those pictures are bad. Those are dire shape. So that's part of where the funds for the park amenities is going to go. We're working already to get the quotes in place, and those things shake and very, very not very safe. And this was funded at mid-year, so this is not money that's going to go for fiscal year 25-26, but these are the pencil lights right out along the, this is an actual picture when it's dark, those lights don't work. So there was issues with the wiring, the posts of the base, those light posts are actually buried into the ground and have rotted and rusted, and we've actually replaced, I think, 3 that 2 have fell over. So They've been off for quite some time, but we have mid-year approval, so that is one of the projects we're jumping on immediately. Our playground upgrades, we're asking for 31,000 for fiscal year 25-26. We have prior year funding. This will cover the replacement of Monarch Park. Monarch Park is about 20 years old. It's increasing in replacement of parts, and it's very difficult to get these parts. This is one of the parks that has the manufacturer is something that's not typical for the rest of the parks throughout the city. So we'd like to get it to more of a ease of replacement when things fail. It is unique, so we probably will come back to the commission. Monarch Park, it has a lot of these, storyboards, info boards throughout the park. It has a Monarch theme to it. So we will, before we do anything with the replacement, probably come to the commission and get thoughts and ideas of, what you would want to do with this playground, and if there is anything that you would like to tie in with the theme of the park. So more to come on that. Crow Canyon Gardens, phase 1 and phase 2. I got the best pictures I could find, so these are real pictures. No big updates on this other than the funding. Phase 1 and phase 2 we feel really good about. We feel that we have the funds in the PDF that we will. We had some city beautification funds added to the project. So phase 1 and phase 2 we feel good about. We just did a hazardous material evaluation. On this next slide, these buildings were all evaluated. They do contain asbestos, lead, toxic material. I don't want to say toxic, but hazardous materials that our next steps are to figure out how do we abate that, how do we clean it, how do we get in there to make it safe for demolition. Fountain repairs, 35,000 this year from the Park Development Fund for the Rancho San Ramon participatory fountain. So we're going to reseal the fountain, the splash pad. Public art in the parks. This is all prior funding, but the projects are in the works. On the left, it's a bare picture, but just imagine there's going to be murals painted on those stairwells. As you're walking through, you'll see nice paintings or on those stairwells. And then we're working for a monument sign to commission for a new monument sign for the Doherty Station Community Arts Center. That's a rendering on the right. That's all prior year funding. Same with these projects, the restroom renovations, we have prior year funding, but we're still going to move through with renovations. These pictures tell a great story. I mean, they're rusting, failing. So this is Richard Fahey Village Green Park. We have new stucco, paint, roof, doors, interior amenities. So we're not going to take the whole thing down. We're just going to renovate so we can get both this one done and Old Ranch Park. So again, you can see the siding on the roof coming down. Some of the interior amenities inside are starting to fail. So we use prior funding to get these looking a lot better. Shade structures. So we have prior funding for Bellingham Square Park. I left Central Park on here. We will not be doing Central Park this year. We need to do a little more evaluation on, this is a pretty good picture of where shade is hitting, but the way the trees and the sun crosses, it became a little bit bigger shade structure than we anticipated. And we want to do it the right way. We don't want to put a shade structure where there's shade and there's no sun. So there will be a little bit more evaluation, but I just want to put this on there that it's still on the radar. It's still on something we're talking about, but it's not going to be done in this next year. So the next steps with the CIP review and approval process, we'll continue to present to the infrastructure committee. There's revisions to these funds and these projects all the way up until council approval. It's kind of a fluid situation, especially with we're still reviewing our operating budget and all the funds. So things may change. We really encourage feedback from the commission. That's what we're here for. There's no real approval needed, but every bit of feedback that we get, we will incorporate to the feedback that we provide to city council. We're going to take this to the finance committee. We do have a date Don't remember what that date is, but it's not TBD anymore. So we'll take it to the finance committee. Then we'll go to the planning commission in May. And then the city council budget workshop and 5-year CIP, May 27th. And then hoping to June 10th, adopt the budget and get ready for fiscal year 25-26. With that, any questions?
Thank you, John. Okay, let's get started with commission clarifying questions. Please, go ahead.
You spoke about a 12.5 for the pool.
Yeah.
So what's the projected, usability timeframe before some of that needs to be done in order to keep it in active use?
Mike is the full expert on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are operational now. We don't anticipate any issues that would shut down.
Yeah, because there are other allocated funds for
For our
Yeah.
standard maintenance, yes,
incremental improvements.
correct.
Yeah.
This July, the pool will be 50 years old. Yeah, so that
When was
the age
last
of the pool-
resurfacing?
that will be incorporated in this whole remodel.
Okay,
So to meet dive standards, we need to be deeper. We need to have that dive well larger. Starting blocks, we need to see what the depth is for that. We need to reach out for community involvement. What do the swim clubs need? What does the public want? What do our partners of the school district need? So this is a long
right,
8-year project
okay,
that we're looking to start now so that we will be ready in 2030 to start breaking ground and anticipating a 18 to 24 month construction time.
okay,
so-
so we're putting reserves in
We
for the project to start?
we haven't done anything with funding yet.
Okay,
Yeah, no, nothing's been allocated, we've just kind of got basic estimates to start a plan in place to get the long-term funding, long-term timing ready.
gotcha. I mean, one of our neighboring cities is reportedly shutting down there.
The city of Santa Clara shut theirs down in January of 2024. I just saw.
A
a
closer
new-
neighbor is thinking about
Yeah.
shutting this down.
I just saw a news article. They have a plan now to repair it a year and a half later. That's gonna be very expensive.
Yeah, okay, so we're looking ahead.
We're
5, 6
we're
years.
looking to get ahead of this so that
Yes.
we don't have a shutdown.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right. Anybody else has any questions? Okay, go ahead, Julia.
Thank you, John. Two questions. The mobile police station, how did that idea come about? Is that Bishop Ranch's idea or was that our police facilities?
I'm not sure.
I Love Lucy
Yeah.
episode.
I like.
It's very ingenious.
Yeah.
Hi, Brian.
Good. Yeah, that is tied actually to the city center. There was originally a plan to have support of the police department near the city center.
Okay,
In the interim, they use part of City Hall, but now they will be this new project. They will mobilize into what's the name of the I hate to say RV, but
Airstream, yeah.
Yes, they'll be closer to city center, and then, as John mentioned, then we repurpose City Hall a little bit with staffing. and stuff.
Okay, so I guess I'm curious why $191,000 for an Airstream? Is it going to be equipped with lots of technology?
Yeah, it'll be the whole kit and caboodle of all the technology and all the amenities that they need. So yeah,
Okay.
they've police has gotten estimates to figure out how much it'll cost to make it purposeful for law enforcement to do their job and be closer to city center. So
Okay.
that's how that number came out. So
All right.
we didn't guess it completely.
No, no, I know. It's all estimates, but curious then, I guess, has this been used in other communities, this type of, Airstream unit, RV for this kind of work?
I believe so. Unfortunately, we have
police with us tonight. I don't know
Uh-huh.
Kathy too, but I believe that that model has been used before.
Okay.
And it's just a cost-effective alternative to locate closer to city center.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just add that this, you remember when the police got the retail theft grant?
Yes.
That was a pretty big deal. And so part of that was also us needing to be, closer to the big retail area. So this kind of goes with all of those pieces. And from what I understand, indeed, this has been done with modular or mobile units. I don't know if it was exactly an Airstream. That
Okay.
we could find out for you and get back to you. though.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious of other communities that used an Airstream or something similar to it for this purpose. My other question's about Bartlett Pear Park. And there's quite a bit of housing that's come up and sold. And I see zeros all the way along that line. Which number is that? 18? And where are we with that? Because I know I asked about it last time. So I'm kind of thinking, aren't we selling units and
Yeah, I think so the money that's being spent there is the developer's money. They're spending the money building the park for us. We're not spending the money so much, and then it all gets trued up at the end. So yeah, it's going great. They've already got the final plans. They've broken ground. They're planning, they think that it'll be done next spring. I'm a little jaded, but hopefully.
okay, so that's why the numbers are zero, because all the money's coming from
It's
the
all, yeah,
developer.
it's not coming out of our coffers.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Chair Reed.
Thank you, Chairman. John, thanks for the presentation. It's a lot, man. It's a lot of, I was going through this. I'm like, God, this is just a lot
Mhm.
to manage. So God bless you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
A couple things I have is, do we share costs? Like you talked about Doherty, the theater at Doherty, the school districts kicking one in, but of the pools, do they also, because I know with MLUs, but is part of them kicking in costs help defer Cal Pool and Doherty High School pool? Do they
You take this one?
does the school district kick in it with some of that cost?
Yeah, I mean, technically, the way that the MOU is written is the city is in charge of maintenance of those pools. However, I think there will definitely be an opportunity to reach out to the school district and gather support from them, because we are supporting the swim teams as well as water polo. And
Yeah.
some of those renovations are going to be specific benefits to water polo. So we haven't had those conversations with the school district, but I'm sure they will come about. And in there, and I don't, I know the MOU quite a bit, but I don't have the specifics in regards to that. So that will be a conversation between the two parties and in regards to use.
Okay, cool. That'd be helpful to add that in and socialize it to see if they would kick in money to support, because 12 million is a lot of cash.
Right. And
I think
we're
they're-
in that-
Pools are expensive, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're very expensive, but I think that's
They're-
one of the reasons we're
Baseball's
starting to.
cheaper. So, hey, the other question I have is, how do we prioritize CIPs? Like, I was just going through, we have so many,
Mhm.
right? And how do you prioritize what you're going to do from a project standpoint?
Well, on the public services side, kind of at the base level, we have deferred maintenance plans. So we'll itemize all of like park amenities, right?
Yep.
We have large spreadsheets that show every amenity in every park, the cost to replace that item, the useful life of that item, and where it actually is within that useful life. And we'll update every year to see, okay, we have certain items that are coming up for replacement. Doesn't mean we have to replace it, because if something is just outliving its useful life and is still in good condition, it makes no sense to replace that. So we will look at items that, number one, safety, anything like the Doherty Valley Aquatic Center, the tile. I mean, we have to bring that priority level up, because someone could get hurt if we don't replace that.
Okay.
Safety is always number one. We base off our long-term deferred maintenance plans to make sure that that's kind of a proactive approach. We don't want to wait always till something fails to then have to replace it. So it's kind of balancing being proactive and reactive, but not doing something a little too early when you can get some years out of it.
Okay. And I think that helps me. Couple more questions. On this CIP spreadsheet, what why do we have prior years money here? I don't understand.
So
why we have
that's
it.
money that was already into the project before this capital improvement program, which is 5 years. So some of these projects might be 10 years. So we're showing how much money has already been spent in the project.
So if the project's 258, we've already spent 10, I'm just looking at one. We've already spent 10,000, so we still have.
Or appropriated to the
Till
project.
240.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you, because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. And then the other question I have is, I was going through, and you touched on it in your presentation on how because I worry about our parks, right?
Mhm.
Because if we step back and say, what's most important to our citizens in San Ramon, parks was a big one, in park maintenance. I tried to find park maintenance in the CIPs. How do we don't put it in?
No, that's an
Okay.
operating budget.
Damn it.
Yeah.
So why would we not, do we forecast like out what the liabilities will be on playground equipment and all that stuff with our parks?
Yeah,
And-
we base it on what, if it's routine maintenance, like landscape contracts, we have an estimate that we can go through over several years. Budgeting for supplies or materials is kind of based off what our actuals we've spent in the past or what we anticipate. So if we anticipate a large project or a large renovation, we'll add supplies or materials that we'll need to complete that.
Okay, okay, I'll say it in comments. And then the last question, and thanks for your help, because this is,
Yeah.
like I said, this is big
No
like a
problem.
house. The only other question I had is, I thought last year we talked about Athens Down, putting a walking path around Athens Down.
Yeah.
And it didn't make the CIP list, and I
Mhm.
think city council creates the CIP list, if I'm understanding that
We
correctly.
bring the projects and then council approves them.
Okay, did we bring that to city council?
That is not in the CIP.
Okay, it's
currently, no.
it's not a CIP
It's
item. Okay.
been discussed, yes.
Okay, well, if we're not gonna do it, we should just say we're not gonna do it. We won't talk about it, but I was just curious where we're at on it, so.
Well, I think also it's important that putting something in the capital improvement program doesn't mean we're not going to do it. It's something maybe we want to do and we have a lot
Yeah,
of
right.
backing to do it, but maybe we don't have the funding or it's not appropriate at that time.
That's the way
So,
I read this, I agree. I just didn't see it on the list,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's one of those projects that we know people want.
Yeah.
There's a long list of what people want, but it hasn't risen to the top yet of something that we would fund probably over Kirk Canyon Gardens, or the Boone House or some of these other projects that have been deemed a higher priority. So I don't think it's off the table. It's just not on the table for next year.
Yeah, I understand. I just thought, like John said, these are like, we'd love to go do these one day if we get the list. And that's what I look at CIPs and it helps prioritize. So it didn't make the list. So I get it. That's fine. That's fair. Okay. John, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
no problem.
Thank you. Anybody else has any question? Okay, please go ahead. You did? Okay, please.
Yeah, I'm questioning, I had the question too on the air van or whatever we call it.
Airstream.
Yeah, Airstream. But did they have a section in the facility here, the police did? So, and then that's taking part that we'll take that over for more of the planning? Is that what you're?
Yes,
saying?
there's going to be with the permit center renovation, there's some other movement within City Hall itself of either inspectors, planners, other city staff within to find the most appropriate space and utilize the space the best.
Okay, because I know I've dealt with the city clerk and everything, and of course, they're now upstairs.
Yeah.
They were in this little
There's been
room before.
several moves
You
already.
never know where they are. You never know where to take your proper forms that we have to fill out. Because it just then seems to me that we moved all the planning from over, not too long ago, but maybe it's several years. But it just seems like it's really expensive to continually revisit everything in the city hall, but I suppose I don't work there, so it's probably.
Yeah, I think we're
Convenience too.
Trying to get to that sweet spot where we're finally settle in and.
'Cause it just seemed like it was exceptionally what I thought was expensive when I thought, well, they haven't been there that long, but.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, if everybody's moving around and the police were there too, so. I didn't know that they had a part here.
Yeah, a little room.
All right, well, that answers my question. I mean, was it a big question, but I just thought, well. When you're using a lot of money, what's part
Sure.
of your tax money
Yeah.
too, so.
Cool.
You do question things like that, but I mean, it's a lot, you do a lot of work and I appreciate your going through these and having meticulous you know, what I want to say with all the parks and everything, I think that's I think you do a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, with the managers and our staff we have they're incredible, and we wouldn't be able to manage any of it if we didn't have some organization and
Yep.
keep some meticulous notes on everything. So
I think we can be proud of what our city does and keeping it up.
definitely. Thank
Absolutely
you.
second that. All right, moving on, Commissioner Osland.
Just one final question. So some of these have a total project amount, and then there's zeros all the way along.
Mhm.
So how I'm perceiving that is that that's what we think the project's going to cost, and either a developer is going to do it, so we don't have to necessarily have dollars in the columns, or we think this is what the project's going to cost and we're responsible for it. And how do we deal with escalation of the projects? Because there's a number there.
Yeah, if it's, I don't want to make a general assumption about every single project, but the majority of them, if it's zeros all the way across, it's just we haven't identified funding for it, or we haven't received actual funding that we would allocate through the years. Sometimes we'll put in estimates so we can keep track of where that money is going. But it is typically because we do not have funding for it. Yes, it's unidentified, but we want to put it in the capital improvement program. We want to track it. We want to put it on, everyone's talking about it, so then we can find that funding for it.
So that total project, does that amount change from year to year?
It can, yes, yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so we'll, just to touch on that one more, so every year, so 26, 27, we will go through our CIPs again, and maybe we get some more funding for that capital budget year, or again, plans change and we've got to allocate money different, so the total can change year to year.
Thank you. Commissioner Coney?
I was just going to ask.
Sorry, thanks, John. The Airstream thing, yeah, I love the concept. And I know of a couple communities where it's happened before. So, and I'm just wondering about the timeline. You may have touched on this, but I didn't hear that. So do you know when that implementation is going to be? Because I know for me, it just makes sense because we don't take away space from city center, right? We don't have to occupy space. It's a mobile unit that we can move around to the city based on need. So yeah, it just feels like it makes sense to have a mobile substation that can move around from place to place where we need it. But I'm just wondering, do you know when that's actually going to happen?
I don't have an exact date.
Okay.
That's a police function, but it's this fiscal year.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the funding was this fiscal year. I was just wondering, yeah.
Yeah, we may not have specifics, but as the CIP process rolls through, council adopts it, then July 1st, we'll start moving forward on that.
Yeah.
Ideally, we're trying to phase this to where PD would relocate into the Airstream, and then we have space we can repurpose for that. So, and also while I'm up here, I know John mentioned when we talk about priorities of safety priorities, of priorities of various, preservation plans, maintenance plans, but another big factor I want to really emphasize is funding source. It's not all the same funding. It's not all the same money, and it's huge. So for instance, Park Development Fund, we get funding coming in, and that one's tricky because we try to anticipate when developers will pay money. I always use an example of the old outpost that was supposed to develop. We were supposed to get $2 million infused in park funds. Now it's sitting idle, so we have zero. We luckily just got Aspenwood delayed because we were helping and partnering with affordable housing. We just received 1.4 million. So it's highly dependent when projects move forward. Right now, obviously, general fund is strained. We did get Measure M passed, but the money is started April 1st. So we don't have anything yet. But that tax increase started April 1st. We'll have a better picture, maybe 6 months. Money pulls in to see how much more revenue we'll get. But for example, I have a few. So beautification fund, we're using some of that for the Crow Canyon Gardens because we're preserving the building. That's a different fund. That's a healthy fund. Developers are paying into that. Very earmarked on what you can do. So you can't do everything with it. SCC JIPA is traffic fees. So I'm getting away from parks and facilities, but to prove a point, Doherty Valley paid their share for traffic impact. So do you see the Crow Canyon widening? That was almost every penny was not general fund. It was funding by developers. So that helped with timing too, because it was general fund, we would have delayed it, but it's other funding source. So I think with prioritizing, it's really challenging. We have full staff and everyone who go through this process. We go with you guys, we go to the Transportation Advisory Committee. We already went to infrastructure. So this process where we hit all these different committees, we get input, and then we also kind of juggle all these priorities. Between safety is always number one, but then also it's funding sources. So some of the stuff we have to pull back on. And yes, that's why you see all these zeros, because the CIP book is big. There's a lot of projects in there, and we don't do all of them every year. And you'll see in certain pages, the ones we go after, we try to tackle anywhere from 50 to 70 projects a year, which is pretty amazing, but there's hundreds in there, but it's, again, back to funding. So, so anyway, I just want to emphasize that the funding is really a key, especially general fund right now. And as John mentioned too, infrastructure maintenance fund is really AKA general fund. So that's why that's strained, even though it's for good use for infrastructure, it's general fund. Now, park development funds, fees from developers, beautification is, PEG funding, that helps. We're gonna redo some things in the council chambers. That is another funding source. It's not general fund. So that helps a lot. Then getting back to the reconstruction of City Hall. Carol, you asked, why would we spend more money? Well, it turns out that building through process of a development pays money, and that money is earmarked, even though it says general fund, to redo this to be more efficient and have a better layout. So that kind of funding was covered, the 500,000. So it's good to know that even though it says general fund, it is earmarked. It's money in a side account, if you will, collection of developer and other fees. So anyway,
Thank
so
you.
hopefully
No,
that
I
kinda-
appreciate that. Yeah,
Sure.
thanks so much.
information.
Since you mentioned Outpost property, do you have an update on that?
No,
I'm just
but,
curious, like,
what's-
I know, I do miss the Outpost.
What's-
I have to say, I do
Yeah,
miss the Outpost.
what's
But is it, do you know, is it zoned for, I'm sorry to go off task, but is it zoned for multi-use?
It was zoned for multi-use, mostly residential like townhomes, and then a few little
I'm sorry.
residential like a Starbucks or something in the bottom. That's what it was.
Yeah.
The problem was it delayed, and then the developer just couldn't find a feasible product. They had the challenge with the creek. And what I've heard is now their entitlements expired, which means they got to start all over again. And that
Really?
takes a long time. So obviously there was some issues because you don't let it expire, because you got to start over. You got to go through the planning commission, all the new regulations. So they tried, building codes updated. That really hit them hard. It is unfortunate. It's as sad as an empty lot. As a matter of fact, it's crazy that they demoed Outpost and you thought, oh, this thing's going to move along. No, it's how many years has it been now? I mean,
Yeah,
7?
yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. It's been that long.
Too many
Yes.
years.
So everything impacts us
Yeah.
with fees. So that's that give and take where, you say development's good and bad. Well, the good is we get a lot of fees in and we can improve our infrastructure. The bad is people say, oh, well, all this housing. So that's that balance. And then we do the crystal ball to figure out, our best guess of what money's going to come in so we can love to spend it.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Share that.
I'm good.
All right, good. Okay, Commissioner Dollich?
You talk about your priorities, so you have safety, useful life, there's useful life. Refer to both functional as well as financial useful life. I mean, do you look at depreciation as one of those items that, add to the equation regarding useful life?
Yeah, depreciation definitely is a part of it because that goes into the more proactive versus reactive. We can know when that useful life is coming to an end and there's no value of whether getting just like the playground, paying a lot of money for replacement parts other than just getting something that is going to exactly. It's cheaper just to replace it than to repair it. Costly repairs.
Yep, thanks.
All right. Anybody else? No, I think there is a good discussion. I just have one question about the pool maintenance thingy or rework or whatever, because it's a 12 million, 12.5 million. Did we ever had such a big work before? Have we done that before, or do we know what kind of funding sources we use for that? Any kind of prior experience on this? This
Not
is a
sure
big
about the
number,
pool. Yeah,
huge
it's a
number.
massive number. So one of the things about this is it's kind of like a construction ADA situation. Once you go in, it's not like replacing a diving board, but
Right.
once we go and break ground, you're up to code with everything. And that's the issue we're going to run into once we do any of these renovations.
Right.
So, but Mike,
Okay.
Yeah, John hit it right on the nose. We don't meet the current turnover rate. Back when it was built in 1975, everything was great. Our Doherty pool was built in 2006. So it's up to all the codes as for the diving, for the circulation. We're able to efficiently run it with VFDs and lower motors. So that is what we would do with this program. In 99 and 2000, we kept the 50-meter pool, but we built the locker room and the building. We built the play pool, we built the lap pool. So we have done large projects like that. This with DSA, with the school being school property, that's what's inflating our numbers.
Yeah.
A rough estimate, talking with a Proctor Design Group, is about $5 million for the pool and equipment.
Mhm.
It's the pump room and everything else that we want to give that cushion. Once we get into some design and cost estimates, that number may come down. But I wanted to prepare everybody that it could be that large
Right.
project.
No, definitely the right thing to do, and I appreciate that. Another one question is, I'm looking at the scheduled timeline. It said program for design construction in FY 26-27. Does that means if we need to go ahead, we need some allocations next year?
Yes, so we do have program next year to start getting an architect on board. That gives us a year to reach out to the community. What does the community want to see? What kind of recreation devices? What do the swim clubs need? What does the school need? What does the community at large need? So our Parks and Community Services, Keith Haas and Kevin Boggs will be working with all those groups to reach out and see what the community wants. We'll be working with engineering to have an engineer in charge of the project and go out for a consultant and architect. And that's going to take a year. Go come up with a conceptual design, present that to you guys.
Okay.
Go through the permit process. Some of those, items may take 2 years to order. Have that in hand so that, November of 2030,
Mhm.
when after the school is done with their programming, we can start and be ready by spring of 2032.
Yep. Okay.
So it is a very large, long project.
Right. And the last final question, clarification is 26-27, you have that design consulting thing.
Correct.
Is there any money asked for that? Do we
We
need
are-
that, or when are we going to propose that? Because I don't see that number anywhere.
yes, it's not for 25-26 for this capital budget. We
Next year.
programmed it for 26-27. So as we do this process next year,
We'll have that
Yep.
line item. Okay.
we will
Got it.
ask for that amount.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other further question before we move on to public comments? No? All right. Do we have any public comments? We do not. Okay. All right. Let's move on to commission comments and suggestions. Please, let me know who.
I have one comment.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hey, John, I know you're leaving, but hey, see,
So get back.
you're done with us. I get it. Done with you. The whole outpost thing put you over the top, I'm sure. So,
the
hey,
outpost
first
too.
of all, I want to thank you. I want to recognize that someone got a grant, and I sat through a presentation that the city manager gave on how difficult it is for the city of San Ramon to get grants. So
Yep.
that's awesome, whoever got it. So thank you so much, because I realized how hard it is
Yeah, how
to
did
get
that-
grants.
I know Matt Ramirez got it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it started, we just got an email or. Yeah, so there's more tied in. It was actually 140,000. We're getting 2 EV vehicles to meet some of our fleet requirements from the
Yeah.
state. And then, yeah, upgrading LED lighting. So it was pretty,
I just know how hard it is to the right amount of
It's
work.
very
in,
hard.
And I just can't thank you guys, whoever does them, we can't thank you enough, because it saves the city some money. So really appreciate it. So my comment really is, first of all, thank you so much. And thank you guys. I mean, I echo what Carol said about the work that, we do. So, or you guys do is phenomenal. I just have a couple things. One, on the capital improvement project description reports, is there any way that we can put, you guys have city council priority goals? Can we put the master plan goals for the parks on there too? So we're doing a project that's not only, it aligns to the goals that we have in our master plan too. It's just kind of a comment. If we can, I get it.
can ask.
The other comment I have is, I wonder, and I just wonder, is how do we cost share some of this stuff, right? I mean, we have user groups, and I know the pool people aren't in user groups, but how do we, I think part of it's educating our citizens, and then how do we kind of say, hey, here's where we're at, and here's kind of what we're up against, because the sooner we socialize that, I think we might find different solutions. So it's just food for thought. And then my last comment, or 2 comments is, I worry about our parks, right? And depreciation and equipment and all the benches. And when I didn't see a CIP that said parks, I'm super concerned. So I just feel that there needs to be something in the CIP list as
There,
this.
it is
total
parks
park.
amenities is the big one.
Okay.
So there's parks amenities, which is benches, barbecues, all that. We
That
have
place, that's
restroom
all-
renovations, so
Yep.
that's park
Playground
restrooms.
equipment. Okay,
And then
cool.
playground equipment. So we have 3 really big ones that tie in a
Okay.
lot of the park stuff.
I feel better. I missed it.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
no.
No, the educate, because I read it, I just didn't figure it out. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And last one is, great job. I appreciate it, because like I said, I went through this and, it's on my job, but it's just a lot of work. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
On the comment on the cost share, that was one of the reasons to bring this so early.
Yeah.
Is to kind of get everyone's minds working to try to figure out a solution. You reaching out to different agencies or different learning, like Mike said about Santa Clara, they actually went to the pool and did some networking. That's a really big thing now of, whether it's private-public partnerships or different ways to get some of these larger projects financed. And in the end, you want a good product for the residents and the community. So, however we need to get that done, I want to make sure that we're all kind of brainstorming different ideas than what's just need 12.5 from the general fund. Well, that's probably not going to happen. So we got to find out a different way to do business. So.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything? Okay, go ahead, please.
Sure. No, I'll echo my fellow commissioners, John. Great presentation. Yeah, there's so many factors that have to go into weighing, the prioritization of these projects, identifying funding sources, the needs and everything. So I don't envy staff at that balancing act, because there's a lot that happens there. The only other comment I have is you mentioned a number of the things are kind of like in design phase or getting teed up to go into the design phase, which, is it's the first step in order to eventually get it out for bid, to do the plans and specs, to get the nuts and bolts, all that stuff. But, I know from my own experience with my day job that design, once it's complete, doesn't age well unless you move relatively fast on it. It just doesn't, because the costs just continue to go up. It doesn't get cheaper the longer you wait. So, and I do get the impression that staff does what it can to minimize that lag between the two. So that's why I didn't bring it up as a question. But just a comment, I appreciate that staff's mindful about that, because you don't want to waste money on design only to have to go back a couple years later and revisit it and start over again. So, and I don't think the city does.
No,
I
I can speak for public services, and once funds are allocated, I know our managers are really ready to go and get things upgraded, renovated, new playground in place, new facilities upgraded. They don't wait. But when the bigger projects, like Crow Canyon Gardens, we should see movement this year. Like, I think we're there. That's been a part of the discussion, is what is phase 3 and 4 going to look like? Because we know costs are going to go up, and how do we get from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 with funding in a tighter timeline, so those costs don't go up.
No, thank you. We appreciate that.
All right. John, really thank you for this detailed presentation. Really, really helpful. And also I'd like to thank Brian and Mike for all the answers and questions and suggestions, and that some explaining the CIP budgets and stuff was really helpful to that. With that, I would also like to thank each and every member of our Public Works Division. Man, you guys do an amazing job. So thank you from us, from the Parks Commission, as well as the community. We have one of the best livable cities around here, and that's a lot of our friends just come here, love the city, love how it looks like, love how it's maintained, and they move here. So all of your work really get appreciated through that. So
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate them a lot too. We got a really great team and
Yep.
great culture, and love working with them. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Look at that. 7.2. Review of 2024-25 significant accomplishments, 25-26 major action plan, and proposed 25-26 budget. Recommendation, receive report presented by May Linick, administrative analyst.
Good evening, commissioners. Just bear with me one second while I change the PowerPoint.
I believe we're going to tag team this tonight. So while May's getting that all set up, I can kind of get us started off here. So this year's budget picture is a whole lot brighter than last year with the passage of Measure N. So I want to start there because the last year, or what is our current year budget, has been very tight, and it is still tight. So as we talk about the budget that we are going to share with you tonight, you have to recognize that we're coming from the tightest budget we could do, and now we're able to open it up a little bit. So the draft budget, you will see, actually recommends restoring a number of things that were cut last year. We're excited about that. It is a draft budget. This will still go to the city council, so it's highly likely that it will change, but it's optimistic. So we're optimistic that most of the things that we cut that we're asking to bring back will get to be brought back. The direction that staff was given this year was to prepare a flat budget or a status quo budget, not including the couple of areas that are kind of out of our control. So when and we'll go into it more, but as we look at some of our big contracts, they have escalators. They're 5-year contracts. They must go up by the escalator. There is nothing we can really do about that. So we have that as a fixed cost. The same happens with our full-time benefits and salaries. Those are fixed costs unless you're gonna lay off people, which is not the intention of anyone. So there's fixed costs we can't control, and then there's costs we can control. So we'll dive into those a little bit more. But before we really dive into the budget numbers, which I know are the meat and potatoes of this evening, we want to share with you a quick look back of what we have accomplished also. We try and highlight that because, as you know, the budget last year was smaller than usual. We actually went down in budget from the year preceding that, but we were still able to accomplish a lot. So I'm very proud of what the department has done. So a few accomplishments, and this is by no means all of them, but some to highlight. We're initiating that Boone House preservation study to identify the phasing and costs associated with the renovation. We expect to have that done this year. Creating the new Family Pickleball League. Super fun. You need to get out there and watch them. We completed, which I think is huge, the master plan for Crow Canyon Gardens with a phasing plan and estimated costs. And as you just heard our partners in Public Works say, we are moving. We're actually going to move on that project this year. So very exciting. We've collaborated with Public Works, San Ramon Valley Unified School District, and the San Ramon Cricket Association to add that third cricket pitch that was so desired by the community. We installed Inspire, the public art piece at the library. We applied and received a grant. We're just talking about grants from Contra Costa Area Agency on Aging for the installation of that commercial dishwasher for serving lunch at the El Costa Senior and Community Center, which helps us meet our trash-free goals in San Ramon. We coordinated with County Connection to provide 3 mobile lobby events at Senior Center. to educate our seniors on their transportation resources. That's because the seniors would have had to go all the way to Martinez to get those otherwise. So having those right here makes it really much more accessible for them. We celebrated the grand opening of Sunrise Ridge. That was long awaited. We introduced citywide trash and recycling initiatives at all of our community centers to assist with waste management. So that's the actual sorting of food, which we really hadn't done in a significant way before. We collaborated this year with Discover San Ramon for the Art and Wind Festival, which resulted in a $20,000 sponsorship. Thank you, May and Adam. We enhanced aquatic operations and training through the use of digital record keeping. That was new for us this year. And the really very cool virtual reality training technology. That's where they put the little thing, the little virtual VR. Thank you. I couldn't come up with that word. And they can actually practice like as seeing somebody in the water to save. So really, really fun and really timely and works really, really well with our lifeguard population who are in their high school, college ages. I'm going to get all distracted by that because I think it's so cool. We initiated and executed an agreement to bring the bee boxes back to Forest Home Farms. That's also hugely exciting, and it strengthens our organic garden and really celebrates the history of the site since the bees came from the farm. We analyzed, I think you saw the presentation a couple months ago, the usage of our 2 gymnasium facilities and identified the underutilized space and developed methods to optimize that, which resulted in 323 additional rental hours, which is huge. That's also revenue. We developed partnerships with Shakespeare and Performing Arts Regional Company, San Francisco Opera, and San Ramon Academy of Music to bring live performances and free workshops to San Ramon. So that's something we were able to negotiate through partnerships to get all of that to happen without having to spend money. And we collaborated with Public Services and the Fabrique family to develop a Yellow Tulip Hope Garden at Memorial Park. And so really pleased that we were able to make that happen. So those are some of the highlights of things that we accomplished last year with the money that we were allocated. There are many more things, but that's kind of a taste. And now let me hand it off to May to take you through our actual budget numbers that we're proposing in the draft budget for this next year.
Kathy, can you just, what is this things MPG 2.4 and
Master plan goal.
Oh, should have known that. Sorry. Mouth forget. All yours.
Hi, everyone. As you remember me, I'm May Malinik. I'm the department analyst, and tonight I'll review our proposed 2025-2026 budget for next fiscal year. So in introduction, the Parks and Community Services Department has always historically aimed to maintain a 50% cost recovery goal. It has been a successful methodology in the past. However, it is not sustainable in the long term. As you'll see in this upcoming presentation, we did excitedly maintain a 53% cost recovery goal. But as we go through the information tonight, we do want to just share so you can start having it in the back of your mind that as we progress with inflation and additional costs rising and nominal fees continuing to increase for everybody, it's just something to consider that the number of people we serve in fee-based programming will eventually decline. So this is our proposed 2025-26 budget. And the column to the far left, that is our current adopted 2024-2025 current fiscal year. And then the middle column is the proposed budget for next year. And then change is just the difference. So starting with our expenditures, our department expenses, as Kathy mentioned, this is quite small. This was during the budget shortfall. So this was massively less than the previous fiscal year before, but our current fiscal year is at 8.8 million. The proposed 2025-2026 budget does increase by 1.6 million to 10,449,824. We are going to dive into the details. For revenue, there is a slight increase. Our current fiscal year revenue budget is 5.5 million. The proposed 2025-26 revenue budget is 5.54, which is an increase of about 29,000. And our general fund subsidy is increasing as well since our expenditures are going up and the revenue is also going up nominally as well. And so that subsidy is increasing by 1.6. So here is everything actually broken down by major categories. So each department in the city looks at all of our expenses with these main categories. We have full-time salaries, full-time benefits, part-time salaries, contractual expenses, materials and supplies, other, which are our main categories. Other typically refers to things like mileage reimbursement, conferences, training costs, IS replacement, etc. So for full-time salaries, that did increase by 83,927. Those are typical staff increases across the board. For full-time benefits, as you'll see there, there is an increase of 1.181 million. That is mainly from our current fiscal year, as we were having the budget shortfall. At the June 4th City Council meeting last year, Council did agree to use funds from our OPEB trust, which decreased the amount of funds needed from the general fund. So by using the OPEB money, the OPEB grant fund, that's a trust specifically for employee benefits, we were able to decrease the reliance on the general fund for this current fiscal year budget. However, we are expecting that, of course, the department needs to once again pay our benefit costs. So that's getting reintroduced back into our budget, back into the general fund. So it does look like a staggering amount, but that's the explanation of why it's such an increase compared to the previous fiscal year. For part-time salaries, it's a nominal increase of 40,862. That is only a 2% increase, even though minimum wage increased by 4%. So we're very proud of that number. Contracts did go up by 294,000. We do have additional details coming up on the next slide to kind of dive into that figure a little bit more. Our supplies only went up by $736. I think if there's anything we're proud of, it's probably that. And then other, that went up by 30,658. And that is entirely to what is known as IS replacement. So that's an expense fund that's completely managed by our IT department. And that refers to the replacement of things like monitors, software, et cetera. So that is strictly going up by 30,000, hence the difference from the previous or current fiscal year. So again, diving a little more into the expenses, for salaries, our full-time salaries went up by 84,000, part-time salaries only went up by 41,000. Again, 1.2 million was in full-time benefits. That OPEB benefit fund that I mentioned, that was 3 million that was relieved from the general fund for citywide. So for the PCS department, we actually had a contribution of over 767,000. So again, once that's introduced back into the PCS budget, it does look quite different to our current fiscal year. For contracts, which is probably the category where you see the secondary most high difference compared to the previous fiscal year, 218,000 of that was restoring the additional library hours and just the contractual increase that we have to pay to the county for staffing. 25,000 of that is for our Civic Rec registration software. So when customers are signing up for classes or signing up for facility rentals, all of that is managed through our Civic Rec program. And then lastly, our theater management contractual increase. So we do utilize a third-party vendor who manages our two theaters, the Front Row Theater and the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. As mentioned before, our supplies are only a $736 increase department-wide, and that last expense category is the $31,000 due to the IS replacement charge. Moving over to our revenue budget. So overall, we do have a $29,000 increase compared to last year. And that may seem like not that high of an increase compared to last year, but we do have some background information on that. So we do have an additional $7,000 of revenue just in credit card surcharge. So for The majority of our credit card fees, that's managed by one credit card company, but our theater expenses, that's actually managed by a separate credit card processor because it's the box office. So for that, it's completely offsetting the expense side. So any credit card surcharge we receive in terms of revenue from the customer, that's immediately paid out to our credit card processor for the box office. So the city doesn't hold on to that at all. We do have $71,000 in additional revenue due to our camps, preschool, pool rentals, aquatic classes, youth teen enrichment classes, the success of open gym, adult leagues, and tennis programming. There is an additional increase in senior programming to the tune of $20,000. That includes not only senior programs, but the summer barbecue fees and the ever so popular lunch bunch trips. And lastly, the presenting series, we're forecasting $31,000 in additional revenue from ticket sales. So if we didn't have the next two categories and for our revenue, you would see that this would be quite the change from the previous fiscal year or current fiscal year. But some things that are drawing down our change in revenue are two specific things. So we did have to readjust our forecast for facility rentals. Historically, for the last few years, we have been trying to be overly optimistic, especially post-COVID, in trying to boost our facility rentals, which is one of our main revenue drivers. But unfortunately, no matter how much we pushed the forecast for facility rentals, we just weren't realizing that target. The next thing would be our two teen centers at Windermere and Pine Valley. They were closed due to reduced enrollment. And so just removing that revenue plus decreased enrollment at our two existing teen centers does remove about $53,000 from our revenue budget. Despite the rising cost of salary, benefits, and contracts, staff was able to develop a 53% cost recovery. We are extremely pleased we were able to remain over 50% cost recovery. It is extremely challenging, as you know, as costs continue to rise and revenue seems to remain stagnant. As I mentioned before, part-time staff only went up by 2.5%, even though minimum wage went up by 4%. Our supplies only went up by 0.3% because that was that increase of about $700. So if there's one thing that we want to impart on you today is that PCS is trying very hard to remain at the status quo. So aside from the categories that we can't control, such as full-time salary and benefits, contract escalators, and budgets managed by IT, we really didn't have any actual budget increase. There are several items that we requested to be restored from the budget cuts. They include additional library hours. You probably saw that that was approved in our most recent mid-year, so the library is now open on Mondays. Additional items include opening our counter back up at our San Ramon Community Center and El Costa Senior and Community Center. It's currently closed right now for lunch from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., but this would reopen the counters back at that time. Restoring our volunteer recognition program from $12 per person to $15 per person. The Art and Wind Festival street banners, graphic design services for Recreation Guide, preventative maintenance for community center appliances, Trails Challenge t-shirts, the Historic Collection part-time staff hours, entertainment and supplies for senior events, such as like during the holidays, the Dive-In Movies, which is an event we didn't have in our current fiscal year, but we're hoping to bring back next fiscal year. Holiday on the Farm, another family favorite. Everyone loves seeing Santa over at the farm mid-December. And then Fun on the Farm events during winter. We didn't have it at all during the winter months this current fiscal year, but this would reopen or rehab those programs from December 20th to February 14th. And then bringing back our Camp Central Party in the Park event, which is a great event that's open for the families. It gives them kind of a sneak peek to see which instructors are coming back for summer programming. And with that, I will hand it back to Kathy to go over our department goals for next fiscal year.
So we are doing a bit of a tag team tonight. So I think the natural question you might all have is, okay, great. What are you going to do with the $4.9 million that is the subsidy from the general fund? And so that's what I want to tell you some of the highlights of what we plan to do. So basically, we're going to keep everything we're currently doing running. So if it's running now, we're trying to keep it running. And that is no small feat because we have so many community centers and pools and gyms and all of the programs that we have. But in addition to that, we want to provide exceptional customer service. We want to create experiences and programs that enhance and change lives for our residents. And we want to do that through the things that we currently operate and then some of these goals I'd like to share with you. So as you heard them talk about the terrace patio, we want to develop and enhance our outdoor rental opportunities. We have that we're going to have that beautiful shaded patio and we want to rent it and we want to make it attractive to rent. So that's one of the big goals of the facilities staff. We want to collaborate with our local education providers, such as the Diablo Valley College, to deliver free educational programs for San Ramon's older adult community. That's something that they have, and we have the seniors, and we just need to bring those two parts together. So that's a big goal for our senior services. We, as you know, want to develop that Forest Home Farms renovation plan with those costs and the phasing so that we can get that launched. That's a big one. An interesting one for the aquatics programs is they are exploring partnerships with the American Red Cross to offer certification classes in our pools, and also a partnership with East Bay Regional Park District to identify opportunities for collaborations between our aquatics agencies. So you might say, well, what could that be? And in talking even again with Keith this afternoon, I guess East Bay Regional Parks has created MOUs with other cities to come in and provide instructors for their aquatic classes and to do other things for them. And we may not need that exact skill in our pools, but we're open to exploring what can we do in collaboration and in partnership. So you're going to see that coming along this year. We also need to update our current Parks and Community Services emergency action plans and crash books. Does anybody know what a crash book is? I'm just kidding. Excellent.
Yeah, it's when someone gets, is it?
You don't have to answer it, just in case. Let me go ahead and tell you how we interpret crash books. In each of our facilities, there's a red binder. So if there's a massive emergency in the facility, and it could be a building attendant there, it could be me, it could be Jen, it could be anybody. We tell everyone, grab the crash book, evacuate the building. So now you're standing outside the building, but rather than just standing there with your cell phone trying to remember who you should call, aside from 911, because you call 911 first, but who to call next, what to do, it has everything in there. So if we are evacuated for an earthquake, here's the protocol, here's what you need to do, here's who you need to call. And so we need to update those all for all of our facilities again, because it's been a few years, so they're in need of that. And we also want to update our emergency action plans in that same way. So that we can guarantee that we can keep our participants and community members and our staff safe. We are looking to create a nature web page. So right now we have nature programs spread all over the place, and we want to consolidate those to, we have nature programs, our trails, our city gardens, our rental allotments, our volunteer opportunities, and even our environmental services information in a one-stop shop, so that when people go to look for that, they can find it all. We're going to be completing that Trails Master Plan to create that long-term vision for the city's trail system. In fact, I believe that's coming next month to the commission as a kickoff. So that's it's going to actually start in the very end of this year, but all of next year will really be spent on that robust community outreach, talking to the community and to our partners to figure out what does that master plan need to be, want to be, and then hopefully get a document similar to our Parks, Trails, Open Spaces Master Plan that digs into those trails. We're going to be updating our San Ramon Public Art Program guidelines to address the increase in public art in the walking district. So if you think back, we had that public art master plan for Bishop Ranch with a joint meeting. Well, we need to go that next step and get all of our policies lined up and our procedures lined up so that we can start to realize that vision and streamline the process. So that'll be a big piece that the arts staff will be working on. We're planning to partner with the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce also. Hey, Commissioner Kaney, the Chamber of Commerce, to promote the San Ramon Artist Directory to connect our local artists and businesses for commissions and exhibits. So that's another goal for us. As we've talked about before, we want to implement phase 1 and 2 of Crow Canyon Gardens. That's launching, really exciting. That'll all be happening next year. We're going to be investigating partnership opportunities with local organizations to offer more experiential enrichment activities for youth and teens. And that's really talking about the play-based science activities, nature-focused programs, because we really want to continue to foster environmental stewardship in our youth. And that's an area that came out in our master plan and is just really important to this community. We're going to continue. We're still trying to investigate opportunities to increase shade and seating along the Iron Horse Trail through strategic partnerships and interagency collaboration. We will bring that to the commission here at some point so we can daylight what we've discovered, what we know, and what we can and cannot do. But so that's a goal for us for the next year to at least bring what we know forward. So you'll be hearing about that over the next year. We want to revamp and update the city's scholarship program. Right now, we have a great scholarship program. We're helping a lot of kids take classes and programs, but the question is adults. Should we have these scholarships available for adults that are economically disadvantaged? And so that's something we'll be coming to you too to look at and think about and see if we can come up with a way to do that. Finally, the last one, and that's a big one, in the midst of all of these things we're going to do, we're also going to complete the 5-year update on the Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan. And so we're halfway through our 10-year plan, and that means it's time to really take a deep look, do some community outreach, still be done internally. We will not be using a consultant, and then tweak the goals and objectives. If there's something that's not relevant anymore, we need to remove it. If we need to increase something because pickleball is crazy and bocce ball is not, then we need to make those adjustments to the existing plan so that the next 5 years it can be as beneficial to the staff and community as possible. So those aren't all of our goals. Those just happen to be some of the goals that I thought would specifically interest the commission. Our staff in each and every unit have smaller goals that they're pursuing and chasing after based on the budget. But I just wanted you to have a sense of what we're trying to do with the money that we get allocated from the general fund. So to echo what May said in conclusion, staff did work pretty hard to keep these expenditures held steady, but we're not able to completely get to a flat budget because of the full-time salary benefit costs, the contract increases, and the computer replacement. But we got as close as we thought we could get. And we did still hit the 50% cost recovery goal. So we also feel really good about that. But as you heard May mention, it's hard to keep maintaining our 50% cost recovery because in order to get there, we have to keep ratcheting up fees. And the more we ratchet up those fees, at some point we hit this crossover where we have less participants paying more money. So we're still making the revenue to get there, but we're slowly losing participants. And that's not in our free programs, okay? Everybody loves the summer concert series. Everybody loves the Wind Festival. Everybody loves Party in the Park. Those numbers are solid. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fee-based classes, programs, and those that just keep pushing up. And so the number of people that are participating in those programs is decreasing while the revenue is increasing. So that we don't feel as Parks and Rec professionals is a long-term sustainable situation because that's not what we are necessarily about. We want recreation for all people. And so that's why we need to start looking at other ways to kind of get to some of these numbers or considering that cost recovery. Is that reasonable? And is that really the thing we should hang our hat on at this point in time? Or should we be saying there's a huge value to the community in the services we provide and 45% is okay for our cost recovery? I think we still need to chase it, or maybe we do want to stay at 50, but we need a lot more partnerships and collaboration and other pieces to get there. So that's not necessarily part of this budget. We did hit the goal. We got to the 50%. I just think it's important that everybody wrap their brain around that concept because as we move through this next year and in preceding years, that is a conversation we need to continue to have. And that, I think, concludes my part of the presentation. So we really are looking for some feedback tonight from you on what you've heard, what you'd like to see. Is there something that we're missing that you think we should be doing, really? I don't know if we'll be able to get it attached into the budget, but I'd like to hear that from you because it gives me an opportunity to figure out how to sometimes deliver things that I'm not thinking you're interested in.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, May. All right, let's get started with commission questions. I see Commissioner Dolic.
A couple of questions. And I would encourage to look at other goals and measurements other than cost recovery as we continue to move forward, because you need to be more qualitative in your outlook rather than quantitative. But going and transitioning from there, May, you mentioned that there was a forecast of lowering revenue, coming. And what are the factors in that? Is it demographic? Is it because the cost ratio is going to a point where you're going to start losing people, which doesn't seem feasible? But, is it a changing demographic? Is it we haven't been changing our services to meet that changing in the community? What was the reason behind that statement?
So it's almost like the theory of diminishing returns. So part of it was for the last few years coming out of COVID, there was almost, I don't want to say necessarily department pressure, but us trying to do our part in trying to have less of a reliance on the general fund. And with facility rentals being a large driver of our revenue, we tried to do our part by really trying to ratchet up, assuming that we would get facility rentals with people coming out of COVID, ready to start renting the community centers, the different rooms, starting to kind of get the family together for reunions, parties, graduations, whatnot. And so we tried to pressure ourselves really to kind of increase our revenue goals. And ultimately, we just didn't obtain them. But while working on like the budget for 22, 23, 23, 24, and now 24, 25, we realized we were looking at essentially trying to increase our adopted budget of the facility rental revenue, but we never realized that goal in the first place. So it was really looking at the actuals of how much we were bringing in facility revenue, revenue-wise, and trying to look at the actuals of what we've been bringing in historically. And so kind of what Kathy was alluding to with the theory of diminishing returns, and not just facility rental revenue-wise, but with everything, as we try to increase our fees to meet the cost, the actual cost of offering these rentals and services, we are eventually pricing out the people that we want to serve. There are only a certain level of customers that you can raise the prices 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, and that doesn't faze them, but that doesn't apply to the general public.
It's not totally budget. So that leads to my second question. You said we were $79,000 off the forecast. So that's relative and kind of a pro forma approach. What was the actual revenue that did it increase year over year? And we just forecasted too high. So we didn't make our forecast, but we made our revenue. Is that what happened?
Correct. Exactly. We for the last few years off of our forecast are very optimistic, I wouldn't say conservative because it was beyond conservative, but our very optimistic facility revenue forecast, we were basing preceding budgets on that forecast instead of the actuals. And this upcoming fiscal year in 25, 26, we are basing our forecast off of actuals.
Okay, so you base your revenues on your actual revenues, not your forecast.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so we hit the number, but we didn't hit our projections.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Coney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. I'm curious about, and chalk this up to a new guy question, cost recovery, right? We talk a lot about that. I'm just wondering how does that number come about? Is it internal? Is it a department goal? Is it something that comes from the council, and where does that 53% come from? Because my assumption is that PCS department is one of the only, if not the only, departments in the city that really generates a significant amount of revenue. So where does that number come from, I guess?
Want me to answer that? Yeah. It's a historical number, actually. And so for as long as I can remember, which is a pretty long time, we've been aimed at a 50% cost recovery in this department. And it's also kind of an industry standard. So if you remember LAFCO, which is everybody has to report to LAFCO, our numbers. And so if you look in there, you'll see that they ask those questions. What is that cost recovery? And it's a general cost recovery that you would find as a reasonable cost recovery for park and rec agencies, across the region are aiming at that 50% cost recovery. It's not always apples to apples in every agency though, because different things fit into different departments, but it's a bit of a standard or a benchmark line that you can attempt to achieve. And so that's how it got established. It's not given to us or told to us, you must achieve that cost recovery, but it has been a great tool because as we've had economic downturns over the years, we can balance off a little bit better because we have a solid revenue stream. You can't turn around one day and say, oh gosh, I need to make money and expect that you can ratchet up to get to those kind of cost recovery level. So the long-term period of time that we've been doing this, we get there. The last peg of that, and the reason that I think this resonates so much, why people get the 50%, is that when you look in that activity guide, you see all those contract classes. Well, our general percentage split that we do on those are 50-50. So 50% of the fees collected from the class go to the instructor and 50% come back to the city to cover those costs. So that's a very large portion of our business runs in that. So then you factor in the facility rentals make more money than they spend. Maybe some of the sports make a little bit more money than they spend, but the seniors and the special events and the arts and the nature programs don't make enough to cover. So it becomes a great balancing act.
For sure.
So it's not a
Sure.
straight,
Yeah.
we offer a program, it's 50% cost recovery. Some are
Right.
free, some cost more. And that goes, I'm going too far down this rabbit hole, but there's that pyramid of community benefit. So if it's narrow at the top, it's a very community benefit to just an individual person, they should pay the full price. At the larger bottom, the big community benefit like a special event, that should be more subsidized.
Completely agree. Yeah. So I appreciate the rabbit hole. No, so that was a great explanation. So not being here this last year was every department, I know, we all had to cut budgets, but was there a certain percentage that each department had to trim or?
Oh yeah, it was painful. What was it? It was
10 to 15%.
10%, yeah.
So for us specifically, when we were asked to cut 10%, that meant we had to cut $1 million from our expenditure budget.
Right. And given that, I'm just wondering, just from an operating budget perspective, just looking at the numbers, it might be helpful to show a little bit more, to go back maybe 2 or 3 years in those numbers, because last year I think probably was an anomaly, so it might be, kind of deceptive, those numbers. So just for next time, I would love to see a kind of a 3 to 5 year span of those revenues and expenditures. I just think it tells a better story. So, and I think that's all the questions I have.
great feedback. Appreciate that very much.
Commissioner Dodge?
I start one other thing. So you said there was $31,000 of revenue from the Performing Arts series?
Yes.
And that was just the one concert? That was just Nick Carter? Or was it, what else was in this fiscal?
No, for the 30,000 of additional revenue, that's for 25-26. So that's hoping that for our 2 shows next year, that will be bringing 30,000 additional revenue on top of what we brought this current year.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think just also, in Parks and Community Services, we also have that mythical number of acres of parkland per population, which has really never been achieved, but is, kind of that goal that you look at. So you shoot for the moon and you hit the target.
Yep.
And it's the 50% recovery is kind of the same. It's, how you can, really kind of budget toward it, but, is it realistic? Not necessarily, but it's a nice thing to keep in mind as you plan and look forward.
All right. Anybody else? No. All right. I actually don't have any questions. Oh, it sounds pretty good. I've gone through it, all the numbers, and I think all the questions that I had have been discussed and answered. So thank you. All right. Do we have any public comment? Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Moving on to commission comments. Right. Okay. Is there any comment from anybody? Vice Chair Britt.
Hey, May, first of all, nice job at the city council meeting in last city council with the fees. I was
Thank you.
proud of you. A couple comments. Terry kind of took what I was going to say as part of the comments. We take a look at historical budgets because I'm super concerned about, let me step back. I like that Kathy's kind of put a stake in the sand when I first started, said he would want 50% cost recovery, but I'm anxious or curious on how we're forecasting in the future. And that's my big question. So hopefully the finance committee can see that eventually and provide input and maybe help as we go through, where we're going and trying to figure that out. Some other just random comments for programs. Well, I know that we're pretty efficient for the city of our size with headcount. We don't really talk that very often, but I've sat and listened to some city, comparable cities. Us in the Parks Department, we're super efficient with our headcount, and I don't think we'd say that very often. So I just said it. But how do we? I'm sitting there thinking about the goals. How do we do things that with our headcount we have? So here's an idea. Like I live in Doherty Valley, right? And I see our seniors walking like crazy through Valley View and Monarch, because that's where I try to work out, but I'm not very good at it. But the point is that how do we have better outreach with our seniors? How do we take that Acosta Senior Center and can we create walking programs out there? Can we do something different than we're doing just at the senior center, but we do more of an outreach for, more diverse community? I just think there's something different we can do with that program that reaches, we go out west or we go east to try and reach seniors that just can't travel that far, right? So
Outside the community center wall.
yeah, outside the community center wall. That's why I'm all about walking lately, because of, I just see so much of it with the seniors where I live, walking like crazy. I mean, it's a lot of them. And then they sit and play cards or whatever they play. So,
Great idea.
no, I thank you so much. We did AEDs. Remember we did the AED. So that whole crash thing, right? I read through that because we had to do that in our buildings too. So, but our big one is AED machines, and I thought we got grants for that, but we put them at Central Park and I think Athens Down.
We were going to, although that never came to pass. Due to
Okay.
some issues that we couldn't get over in regards to the responsibility for the machines and liability and some of that. So that's another one of those projects where, you got almost all the way there and then couldn't get it to the
Bummer.
finish line.
Yeah.
But it's still on the radar as something that I think some communities are starting to do, but we need a better product, I think is probably what it is.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a grant thing too. That's the only reason I was thinking about it, right? So, and I'm with you on how do we make our programs affordable, right? I mean, that's why we want to kind of look around the corner and maybe establish a goal where we want to be, whether it's 50 or 46% cost recovery. And I think it's important because the city manager kind of needs to know where we're headed. But more importantly, how do we leverage our marketing? I just think it's a big opportunity for us that whether it's Instagram or whatever, I know we have it. And is there a way that we can educate, try and pull more people into our programs? Harder, how do we make it work harder? And it wasn't on one of our priorities, but if all of a sudden we're faced with that, I'm just like, what tools do we have that we can make harder to work, with our community? So just food for thought. And then, I guess that's about it. I will tell you, I was super impressed with everything in here. That's why I didn't really have any questions, and how I am about numbers, but, and I know how hard you work to try and do all that. So, and I thought it was very interesting that, I didn't know we borrowed from the bond thing. So that was super interesting because that's your benefits and stuff. So, and I know the city is really focused on always making sure we pay in benefits and pension and stuff. So I'm glad that we're back to where we need to be on that. I think it's really important, kind of an editorial comment. So thank you so much for the work. And I like all the where we're headed. And I'm a big fan of the shade on Iron Horse, by the way. It's been on the master plan for a long time, and think all the people will touch with the shade, right? I just love that we're going after that one. I know it's a big project, I should use in other words. I know it's a big project to go after, but I'm just a big fan of that one. So thank you so much and appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Cody?
Just a couple quick, so thank you. I appreciate it. I learned a lot. Somebody actually asked me, I don't know, maybe a month ago, when I said, oh, I'm on Parks Commission there, and somebody asked, well, what's your budget? I'm like, I don't know what it is. I have no idea. So I appreciate that. I learned a lot. A couple just quick comments. Love the nature page. I think that's terrific. I love that idea. As you know, as long as we can promote it and let people know that it's there, I think that's going to be a huge thing. And then thank you, the chamber partnership. I didn't know about that, so it's nice to know. Yeah. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, Commissioner Osler?
Thank you, May and Kathy. Great report, and I'm in alignment too with what the goals are set for this coming year. I really want to kind of parlay what Commissioner Breed brought up. I think that, and in reading our report at the very end, we're using some of these outreach techniques for our performing arts events, and I think that that's something that we really need to be doing a lot more of for our programs. I really encourage us to do that because it's something that we have at our fingertips, and as long as we have some kind of process and protocol that we follow, we could do it for everything. And I think it shows it works. So thank you.
Right. Anybody else? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, May. Thank you, Kathy, for the presentation, and really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item number 7.3, 2025-2026 Teen Council appointment recommendations. Recommendation receive report and approve a recommendation to be forwarded to City Council for appointment to Teen Council, presented by Brad Morris, Division Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing us to present to you tonight the 25-26 Teen Council appointment recommendations. So it is recommended that the Commission approve the recommendations to the City Council for the appointment of 18 applicants to serve on the Teen Council with the term expiring in July 2026. It is also further recommended that the Commission recommend the prioritization of the wait list for the Teen Council should vacancies occur throughout the year. And I do want to make a note on that, and I'll go over this verbally in my presentation, but the information in regards to the wait list and the prioritization of that, unfortunately, was incorrect. So I will read the correct list and you can vote off of that. And this is directly from the committee, the subcommittee that did the interviews and how they wanted them ranked. And we apologize that it was incorrect in the packet. And we'll repost that packet after this meeting, so the correct list is in there. So just a little bit of background on the Teen Council. It's made up of 19 members, 17 regular members, and 2 alternates. They're appointed for 1-year terms. There is a chairperson that is appointed to a 2-year term, and their first year of their term will be as the vice chair, and the second year of their term would be as the chair. And that is the only 2-year term on this committee. Selma Bahatrani was appointed as the vice chairperson positioned by the City Council in 2024 and will begin her second year of the teen as the chair and the student commissioner in July of 2025. Currently, there are 18 vacancies for the 25-26 year, including the 16 regular members and the 2 alternates that need to be filled. The city clerk posted the vacancies on the city website, city facilities, like we do for all of our appointed committees. However, for the teens, we do go that extra mile where we're posting it on our teen website through all of our teen email blasts. The teen council members go out and do recruiting on school campuses as well. So really trying to push that out. We had 66 applications that were received by the deadline of February 19th. Unfortunately, we did have 2 applications that were received after that deadline. The 66 applications were received, were screened by Commissioners Dorlek, Levy, and Lopez Lucy. Of those 66 applications, 28 of those were recommended for in-person interviews that were conducted by the subcommittee comprised of Commissioner Breed, Kaney, and Oslin, who were charged with making the recommendations to the full commission for consideration, along with that prioritization of the wait list for the future teen council members, should there be any needs or any vacancies. The commission action on this recommendation will be forwarded to the city council for appointment at their meeting on April 22nd. So the following individuals were recommended as regular members of the 25-26 teen council. That is Adon Veer Singh, Nainia Rana, Sharavi Ni Maburo, Sirhani Gul, Sandra Joseph, Ignong Gang, Ashi Gaktak, Davi Bartara, Varsha Janali Gada, Rashan Guntaku, Tanya Koi Gruyon, Neil Thila, Karti Aranarine, Anna Bola Pini, Eva Brooks, Nashka Guri. And those were the committee members. And then the 2 alternates were Vahana Choi Dahari as well as Karshava Pati. And then for the wait list, the order of those were Siddharth Varos, Maya Shartran, Varha Harsami, Sanya Tihi Kova, Anna Zhu, Shanatsu Trapidi, Shahani Rachel, Jamrani Tavriti, Shabdik Chan, and Matthew Nadavagli. And I apologize for any of the mispronunciations on those names. And so with that, if the committee would like to, they can propose those lists to be moved forward, or if they want to be discussed. And please, any of the subcommittees, if you want to weigh in, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, so before we move on to voting, I would like to go through 2 subcommittees to see what is their experience. Is there anything, the process that we followed this time, did it really work? Or do there any suggestions so that we can record that and kind of use that experience next year as well? So can I go with the first group? I think Dorlich, Levy, and Lopez Lucy.
You're all great. You're right.
That worked out. Perfect.
So let's go with the first committee. And how did it go? What is the process? Anything to change and things like that so that we can record it?
Went great, great results, and done. Oh, sorry. Went great, great result, and done.
Oh, I will say this, what we each, kind of did our examination, which was fairly the same as all 3 of us that we did. And we got together not at the end, but before the deadline to go over them and discussed, and we were pretty much in all the same, we didn't have any disagreements at all. So it worked well for us.
And I'll just add real quick, the 3 of us didn't really have any disagreements in terms of our rankings, but I think I will speak for all 3 of us to say, there was a huge amount of very qualified applicants who applied. So those who, didn't make it past the screening, and is not a reflection of them as people. It was just, there was a lot of qualified people and we could only screen out so many, and that's just how it is. So I just want to say that for the record.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Next, go to the next Vice Chair Braid, Commissioner Keone, and Commissioner Osland. And by the way, did we do the in-person interview this time?
Yeah, we did. We're totally.
That was a good suggestion. So I really liked it. Yep. Go ahead, please.
That's those 3 down there.
Here you go first.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll just piggyback on what Kyle said, and thank you to our fellow commissioners for sending on just really, really solid, qualified young people. They were amazing. Every one of them to a person. They were, I mean, I think I speak for the group when I say that we were just pleasantly blown away, right? It felt like we're in good hands. We're in good hands for sure. So I just came away feeling super energized and invigorated and felt good about our future and our present as far as, you know, young people in our community. So and I thought the process was good. Yeah. I think I mean, we, at the end, took us 15 minutes to say, yep, we're good. Boom, pass it along. But at the same time, it was hard because they all were just so solid, so solid. So that's all I'll say.
It's probably one of the most favorite parts of being a Parks Commissioner is interviewing the next generation, and meeting them up close and personal made it even more special this past year because we've usually done it on Zoom. And I don't know, there's just so much talent in our community, and it was just really exciting to meet them and hear what they have to say. And it was a tough decision to have to rank people because I wish we had 25, 30 spots for everybody because there's a lot of talent in our community. So it was I feel really proud to be a part of this process. I think the three of us worked together really well. We had a nice rhythm. We ended up, 10 minutes is fast for an interview. So I would maybe suggest next year giving us a little bit more time. For some, 10 minutes is nothing, and they've said what they need to say, but I found like we were kind of rushing sometimes at the end. I think we had like 3 or 4, and then we might have had a little bit of a break. So when we had that situation, then if we ran over a little bit, we would apologize for the next one coming in. But just food for thought for next year.
I'd echo what Julia and Terry said about the quality, and I'll probably be working for a lot of those people if I'm still working at that time point, probably everybody we interviewed. Hey, from the process standpoint, and Kathy, thanks for organizing our stuff. It was awesome, by the way. And you guys did a really nice job going through all the applications, and having the scores on there was super helpful from all the work that Will and Carol and Kyle did. Having a 10-minute break was awesome because it kept us caught up. So that process from standpoint worked out well. I echoed Julia. It'd be great to have another 5 minutes, but we got through it perfectly. And then also the tools, Terry said we're able to do it quickly at the end because we did it along the way. The tools that you provided us enabled us to spend time every night, or when we're done, I guess it was a night, right? So to go through and rank order. So it enabled us to be efficient, fair, and accurate with the tools that you provided with the rankings and the grid. So thank you so much for doing that. So, because it's a lot of, Terry and I talked about a lot of people like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So the tool helped a lot, forced us to think through it. So thank you so much for all the help with that, because it's no small work, and so we appreciate it. So that helpful, hopefully.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I'll just say one more. This
Sure.
is the first time I was on this side of the camera, and it was great. I'll volunteer for this next year.
Cool. We have one more.
In person's fun.
We have one already. Yeah, please note it down.
Been there, done that.
All right. All right. So can we have a motion?
Yeah, we'll move it.
I'll move.
Go ahead, you
wanna
do
move?
it. No, you do it.
I'll move. We accept the list as stated and modified in the upcoming revision
Yes.
of the alternative wait list.
We second it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you have a second?
Carol did.
Carol did?
I
Okay.
did
Cool.
the green, oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so
It's fun working with you three, by the way. I went through withdrawals, those kind of nights. I had to go to the outlaw, but it wasn't there.
Well, Kyle and I did like 3 nights of interviews, and then
That's right.
and then we did 3 nights the next week. We felt like, yeah, it's good.
That we did.
All right, 7-0. Congratulations, all our Newton Council member. Great job. And we are looking forward I hope some of the team council members are here listening to us right now. So congrats.
The city council for appointment.
Yes. Okay.
So
That's true. That is true.
We're just lucky.
We're lucky to get it done first. Okay. All right. So the motion passed. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the next item, number 8, staff report, recreation maintenance and operations report.
all right, well, it's quite a lengthy rec report again, so if you didn't have a chance to read it, you definitely should go back through it. A couple of specifically interesting things I always like to tell you a little bit about. The summer camps did a group interview, which I think is so fun, and we had 51 applicants, 35 showed up, and then we actually were giving out 21 jobs.
Mm.
So fun to see them in an active group interview, playing games and interacting as
Cool.
good rec leaders should. There's also a nice little article in there on our nature letterboxing and woos hogging, which the letterboxing was hugely popular. That's where our staff went and placed a box hidden in 5 of our parks and then sent clues to the people who registered for the program. And the kids followed the clues, found the box, and there was a little rubber stamp in there and some other little things. And so really enjoyed it. There's a great quote in there from a parent who really liked it. So make sure you check that out. And then our 998 suicide crisis line sign program. So that's being spearheaded by Becky, who's still here. And the Leadership San Ramon Valley class this year, their class project was to try and draw more attention to that number because people don't know it. And so to that end, they've done a whole bunch of marketing and outreach through all kinds of different organizations, school district, et cetera. You can read all about it, but it kind of culminates in here. We've got the signs, then we're going to have a kickoff event on the 15th at 5 p.m. in Central Park. So you'll hear more about that as it gets a little closer, but nice article that you can read about in there. I think you all saw the marketing packages that we're doing now, and we just had ABBA, which apparently was a huge sellout. Brad was there dancing at the front with his nieces. So
I saw the night, well, I wouldn't miss it for the world. I was out there.
right. And so the staff really are looking at more ways to attract more promoters into our theater so that we can have more of these big shows. So nice article on that. And then I got to give some props to the Public Services Department. The sports fields are ready for the season. And so they spend so much time and energy and effort making those fields look as absolutely gorgeous as they are and taking care of them. So there's a nice article on that. And also on the Parks Make Life Better program that they did at the Senior Center, and all the volunteers and all the work that they got done, and all those events actually save the city money because the volunteers do the work that we would have to do with our own staff. And of course, there's another Parks Make Life Better Day coming up on Arbor Day, Earth Day at the farm on the 19th. So you can still get involved. And you do have public services and public works here for once, so.
Hey, just so you know, the fields do look great, just because I spent a lot of time on them. So especially Memorial Park, it looked awesome. So I know it's a lot of work. So I was going to tell Kathy, I sent Kathy a picture of the recycling garbage cans too, which I thought were really cool in all the parks. So, but no, the fields look amazing, and Soccerville even does too. It's a good job.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Kathy.
Any questions on anything? I'm
Yep.
happy to answer.
Any questions? No. All right. Item number 9, Commission Liaison Reports and Announcements. So maybe we can start with.
Sure. So pretty quick, last month's teen council meeting on March 18th. It was a pretty routine sort of housekeeping type meeting. They discussed and approved the 2025 Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award application, and then also did check-ins with their various program ad hoc committees for teen wellness, the Senior Tech Days, which are very popular, the Wish Tree Ad Hoc Committee, the Ambassadors Program, the sort of teen council in training, how that program works and the times and how that could be improved. And then also just a sort of a pretty close to final check-in on the 2024 to 2025 Teen Council goal progress, because the teen council kind of wraps things up in a month or two and presents that annual report. So it was just kind of a final check-in on that and maybe some early brainstorming for goals for next year's teen council. And that's what I have. I don't know if Commissioner Dorlick has anything to add to that.
No, it's pretty robust meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to the outstanding teen award.
Indeed.
Being more integrated into the chamber awards, please. Got it. Great.
Done.
Thank you.
It's that easy.
Yes, I know. I know.
On a continuing basis.
One after another. Okay, all right.
And that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez Luz?
Yes, April is this past Monday that we did have the meeting, and basically part of that was explaining to the meeting group that all about how information is assembled through media and what goes how and how it was done, and more emphasis is going to be put on the seniors to get more information out to the public and to increase. And there's some new programs. And also we had a person, the dean from the college, speak to us and explain as to how that they're encouraging the seniors to take classes. Some are free, some of you'll pay by the semester or the whatever, and that they would plan to do a lot more workshop type of things for seniors so that you don't have to pay for them. And they're also advising them that to look at certifications that they have a lot of access to. And so she was gratefully accepting recommendations from the seniors of what they would like to see. She even said, and this brought my mind, was that they're even going to have a workshop on what do I want to say? I always get this wrong, on planting your plant, but not plants, but your can't think of the words when I want to do it. And so I thought, well, that would be fun. Maybe I would certainly go do that, because you would always want something, because in the wintertime, my husband moved some things on the patio and didn't realize that you had to not move that like that, and crashed all my pots, some of my plants and everything. But secretly he did a little hiding and put some of them in a big box and kept them alive. And so now I've redone that, but I still have to go buy some pots and replace some things. So bless his heart.
Not secret anymore.
Not secret anymore.
And recorded.
Yeah.
Knows it.
Any public comment?
He would have a comment for you. Yes, he would. Because I was very upset.
Okay. Clearly. Nice save.
This
But-
transcript will be available for court.
No, he's very understanding. So anyway, succulent was my word, that they're gonna have like a workshop on that, and they're having other workshops like that. So to attract people, to encourage more people to use the library also, that they're encouraging us as adults, for seniors, but everybody to make more use of the library. And so that was good that she did that. But it was they're very open to things, and that they encourage the public to use this library more often. So the next meeting will take place in June, because they've gone to every other month. So there will be no meeting in May, but it will be starting at June, and then it will go every other month through that. So they think it will be more efficient. And so they also elected new officers. There's a new chair and a new vice chair. So they don't do the secretary take, because the young man, Peter, takes the secretary and so there's no money involved, so they do not have a treasurer. But that was why trying to see how more people can become active at the senior center, and to have more activities that they can go and use around the community. So always looking for ways to get more people involved. So it's a good meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Dodge?
Well, the Arts Advisory Committee meeting, the regular meeting was canceled in lieu of a special meeting on March 26th, which then subsequently was canceled as well. So we were waiting for the folks from Marketplace to come back with some updated art ideas other than something that came from, you know, whatever graphic website they chose to download something from. So the regular meeting will be next Wednesday. So we've had two canceled, the regular meeting and the special meeting. So I'm anticipating, and we have several people that were, their terms expired, and last month, obviously, we had the new people coming on board, so could be some new people there too.
Okay. Vice Chair Britt?
Okay, I had the city council meeting, second of the month, and Kyle was there, so he got to sit next to me the whole time, which I'm not sure he will do that again. So
I wasn't there last night, so I don't know what to tell you.
So, hey, the big thing was a couple of really cool topics. It was National Library Week, and the council acknowledged it from April 6th through the 12th, and both our librarians were there to get that proclamation and recognition. And by the way, the library has a 3D printer, if you didn't know that. So that was a big hit with the council. What's that? Yeah, no, I know. I thought it was kind of interesting. But the big topic was the Contra Costa Transportation Authority came in and talked about their priorities, and the big things were they're building a Bollinger Canyon. They're building a I just wrote it in my notes. Hang on, I'll just put it in my regular note. They're building a Bollinger Canyon Transit Center in Bishop Branch. I'm sorry, the big thing is they're building a transit center in Bishop Branch, and it's really important because as you think about as we try to get people to use more transit and get cars off the road, is how do we get people from the west San Ramon, east San Ramon to a center place where they get a bus or another transportation to go to BART or other transportation that they want. And the transportation center, the bottom line is they gave the timeline from concept. Right now they're in concept delivery. They're doing environmental study, which will be done by November 25. Design, which takes 2 years, which is crazy, but it starts December 25th through 2027. There's a design process, and they'll start building it in 2028. So kind of interesting. Where's it going to be? Somewhere in Bishop Branch. I forgot. I did forget that. Did you get the location?
Supposed to be on
So-
one of two on Camino.
Yeah.
Road.
So anyways, yeah, it's actually pretty cool. So sorry about that. I should have wrote the address down.
And they're gonna start the planning on Christmas Day.
I don't know. I didn't ask. I was a listener, not a participant.
Yeah.
So, but the other cool thing and the Contra Costa Transfer Authority's got a lot of cash. I mean, what they collect in fees and stuff. And so it's kind of interesting. But they have 6 projects they're working on. One, they're doing the 680 express lane because they own 680. And kind of a factoid though, when they put an express lane, they say it saves people 20 minutes in traffic commute as you get an express lane put in. I didn't believe it, but that's what they said. I thought that was super interesting factoid. So 680 express lane's a project. Shared mobility hub. We just talked about the hubs. Advanced technologies are focusing on ramp metering lights and how to leverage AI and technology better to do the metering lights is something you can look forward to as you get on 680 and the metering lights. Coordinated traffic signals. So they're trying to figure out how to move traffic quicker on the arterial roads, so in the city. So how do you coordinate our traffic lights better in the city to keep traffic moving, which ties into a mobility hub. And then they have this app as mobility on demand. It's sort of like an Apple app, but if you wanted to go from, hey, I want to go from Gale Ranch to the city, you can put it in and it'll tell you every transportation that's offered through the Contra Costa Transportation Authority to get where you want to go, which I think is pretty cool.
Question, when they talked about the HOV lanes,
Yeah.
did they make any mention of the fact why in Northern California, they have certain hours as opposed to Southern California where they're 24 hours a day?
They did not, but there was a lot of conversation around cost and how much it costs at certain hours and how certain people can afford it, some certain people can't. So
Yeah.
that was really quite the interesting conversation for me. So, and our council was on point on that. So they did a nice job. So my opinion. Okay, so that was kind of it. And then the other big conversation was on our fees, park fees, and and that's why I complimented May. The one park fee, which was, remember the one that went up 67%? That was subject to a conversation that they had, and May did a really nice, I was gonna get up, Kyle, so don't say anything, but because May had it, May got up and talked the whole, why we landed where we did with that fee increase and kind of the causes of it. And there's some additional questions on paperwork, but she did a really good job. I share that because as we do fees and we think through it, and our goal is to kind of make sure, and we did a nice job making sure we're very defendable on fees, and because as we go through the process. So that's my take on it, not unless you have anything different. So that's what happened in that meeting. So hopefully this was helpful. I thought it was kind of cool for me to sit through.
Very
All
cool.
right.
Very cool.
Hand it over
Good
to you.
report.
Okay, my turn.
Your turn.
All right, I'm going to start with a few announcements. I'm going to sort of stay chronologically. So this Saturday, I was going to say August, April 12th, is the Lower Doherty Valley Ridge Hike, which is put on by the Open Space Advisory Committee. I'll be walking with Diana Corpy, who's a committee member, and I'm going to be with her helping to lead that. It's a 2.8 mile hike, and we're meeting at Old Ranch Park at 9 a.m. So I hope to see all of you there. It's really,
Sorry, which day is it?
it's Saturday, April 12th, 9 a.m., and meet at Old Ranch parking lot. Old Ranch Park parking lot, 9 a.m. And it's really a good opportunity as commissioners to meet some of the community members, and you can ask people questions about what's important to them. So
Time?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
It will probably end around 10:30, 11. We'll take some stops along the way because it has some steep spots to it, which means then you go downhill on the way home.
Arthur will be my proxy.
And
Like,
then
sorry.
I want to just remind everybody, April 26th is a big day. We've got our sheep shearing. I've given everybody a little small flyer. So that is from 10 to 2 on Saturday at Forest Home Farms. Should be really fun. Those sheep are looking really fat and fuzzy right now, and they need to be sheared. And we've got a lot of fun things going on and tractor rides. And so it's a blast. Food will be sold, and it's a fundraiser for Forest Home Farms. So please attend. And if you would like to volunteer, we can always use some volunteers. And then later that day, I'm going to a night in the stack. So at the library. So hopefully all of you will be going to that as well. So we could spend all day Saturday together. So now I'm going to jump in on the Open Space Advisory Committee. Let's see. Oops, I got them all mixed up. Our last meeting was on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, and our first presentation was given to us by Contra Costa County, and it was about the urban limit line update. We received a presentation from Will Nelson, who's the principal planning guy from Contra Costa County. And you are going to start hearing a little bit more about this because there's some expirations that are coming up, and so it has to go on the ballot in June of 2026. But bottom line, the purpose of the urban limit line is to protect open space and agricultural land. It prevents sprawl and inefficient use of land that creates traffic, gas house emissions, and pollution. It focuses on development where infrastructure and services already exist or are planned, and integral to maintaining the 65-35 land preservation standard, which limits urban land use designations to no more than 35% of the land in the county. So there are 3 cities within Contra Costa County that are going to be adjusting their urban limit line, and San Ramon will be one of them. So this will be something you're going to want to we'll probably be learning more about as we get closer. But bottom line is, it's a good thing. It's to create less confusion, to merge the lines, and it won't really hurt San Ramon in any way. At least that's what my takeaway of it was about. And let's see. We also talked about outreach table at Art and Win with our new Trails Master Plan coming up. We were having a robust discussion about maybe using us as a venue to gather information about how people use trails, kind of like maybe aligning with what our consultant will be looking at. So that's to be discussed, I think, in May to kind of finalize a little bit more what we're going to do there. And I was going to ask Kathy about our participation at the Art and Wind Festival.
Yeah, we will be reaching out soon with how the opportunities for you to be at the tables and assist at the festival. I don't think we've sorted through yet, or maybe or maybe actually because Becky's here, exactly which table we had planned for the commission to be at. but
Okay. Okay. Coming soon.
Coming
Okay.
soon.
Great. And then let's see, we just got gathered feedback on our annual report from the city council. Our chair people shared that, as well as talked about our last non-hike event for Open Space Advisory Committee, which was a presentation on Plantify, and it seemed to have been very well received. So that was our meeting. We had another item, but we moved it till next month. And then City Council last night. That was a long meeting. So it was April 8th. Highlights. Proclamation declaring April 19th, 2025 as Arbor Day. And they'll be planting a native valley oak at Forest Home Farms on April 19th. So I've attended this in the past. I will be gone that weekend, but it's a really lovely event to see digging the hole for the tree and planting it. So this has been a long, long tradition since 1872. And there was a quote that was read during the proclamation, which was, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone long ago planted a tree." And I loved that. Okay, so this is the stuff that took a long time. This was a public hearing about the general plan amendment for the downtown mixed use north. And they're calling it the DMU-N. And it's about revising the floor area ratio, which is FAR. So it's an amendment to the general plan. It shouldn't create any additional impacts, but it is all about density. And so the goal is to increase redevelopment and density. And so what this does is makes the floor plan a little bit smaller so you can build more. And that was my takeaway in this discussion. The concern was that it was viewed as that it could be limiting and a barrier. But then there were benefits which could increase, we could increase more, housing units, which makes our arena numbers look better. So bottom line is it gives us flexibility for the developers. And this really is only impacting a couple of the developments that are currently kind of almost baked. And the Planning Commission does support it. So this was one in a series of public hearings. And we also heard from Stephanie Hill from Bishop Branch. She spoke also in support of it. Bottom line, we've been looking at developments as 2 to 3 stories in height. This FAR change and amendment would allow for about 7 stories. So what they want is a balance in heights, and it also gives us a little bit more flexibility for the arena numbers. The second thing that was very interesting was that we had a presentation from the San Ramon Police Department, and this was their annual report. So currently there are 85 on staff, plus Denton Carlson, the captain. There are 2 departments divided, and there's one in operations and the other is administrative. And so administrative presented their highlights. Bottom line, behavioral health response has been really, really good. They have less people being committed. So they're, for the 5150. So things are really, the responses are working a lot better with the way that things are organized. They've also updated their property and evidence department. Apparently, they've done a lot of cleaning out from old data, evidence data that they had that they didn't need to have because it just expired. And so that was also part of, they did a completion audit around that, and things are looking really good. The operations group, the retail theft that Kathy had brought up earlier, their team, they have been doing some really great work. They're focused in on investigations. They're proactive, and it's all about prevention. So these are their highlights. They've had 177 retail thefts and 83 arrests, which obviously this new group, which was the grant money that we got for these new hires, and these were the organization of that retail theft group, has made a big impact. They also oversee the drone as a first responder, and that's out on Wednesdays and Fridays. And so if a 911 call goes out, the drone on either Wednesday or Friday will go and visit the crime where it's happening. And so what that does is really help get advance information before the police officers arrive. And so it really helps with organizing how they're going to approach what's going on. They've had 217 flights, and 54 of those were focused on retail theft. And the drone really helps with that, and they're looking to hopefully expand this program. So some of the statistics around our San Ramon Police Department, there's been a significant increase in calls for service, about 7,000 increase. They maintain a priority response time. They've been able to maintain that, which is 5 minutes. There is a low use of physical force from the police officers, which is good. They're not having to, do anything that's going to involve, physical force. And then the other parts of the stats are traffic related. So DUIs are actually down, which is very good. And injury collisions are also way down. Violent crime is also down 35%, and then there's an increase in property crime, 16% higher. And a lot of that is about vehicle theft. So generally, crime rates are low in San Ramon, which is great, and things are going well for our police department. That's it.
Very good. Very good.
Can I just ask a question? Regarding traffic, I think we all witness a high percentage of, marginal yellow, red light runs. Did they mention anything about that? Because that's, and you see it especially coming off the freeway where.
I just know if you have back tires over a crosswalk when it's yellow, then we're taking it.
Yeah, well, we also have those cameras too. So
Oh,
the
no, these
cameras
are-
will get the
Yeah.
license plates.
So these are obviously turning on a red, just so you make the turn, so. I just was wondering if they.
Yeah.
had
Not that I
anything
heard.
for the propensity of
I
that.
didn't stay for all the Q&A at the end, so that may have been brought up. But
Yeah, it was a long meeting. Okay, all right.
Speaking of long.
Commissioner Corning?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Library Advisory Committee is tomorrow, so I'll have a report next time. And then just a couple quick announcements. Speaking of Chief Carlson, he will be presenting at our fourth Friday roundtable for the Chamber of Commerce on April 25th, 8:30 a.m. to 10 o'clock a.m. at the PG&E Learning Center. So he's going to talk about public safety. So yeah, it's great. So both Chief Carlson as well as Deputy Chief for the Fire Protection District, Aguilar, are on our board, and they're terrific. So at the PG&E Learning Center. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to Kathy and your department again. I mean, come on. We had a rather unorthodox ribbon cutting this afternoon. And we've learned some things. This is for the Chamber of Commerce, and your staff was amazing, just so accommodating, and a shout out in particular to Keith and to Mike Finelli. So thank you for just, just being such great community partners, because it was rather unorthodox, but when, that's how policy is made, right? When things kind of go a little sideways, you say, okay, we need some protocols around some of these things. So we're working on that for sure, but thank you, appreciate it.
Where was
Yeah.
the ribbon cutting?
At Central Park here around the picnic tables on the corner there in that little meadow, Bollinger and Alcosta. So yeah, but thank you, appreciate it.
Did they sharpen the scissors?
Please. I'm sorry?
Did they sharpen the scissors?
Oh, they're very sharp. You do not want to get a finger in there, my friend. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. This time I do not have a planning commission meeting because I unfortunately had to drop out at the very last moment, so I couldn't ask for the alternate as well. So I will try to get something next month as well for this one. Yes, okay, thank you. Okay,
Could I bring up something?
Sure.
I would like all of you to go to the San Ramon Community Center and see the student art that is on
Yes.
display there. It will be taken down, I think, on April 24th, and then our reception will be on the 27th of April, where they will receive their awards. And I'm not sure, we usually have the mayor, but I think that they're leaving for Washington DC on that day, so haven't heard yet who is going to be coming from the city. And I haven't had a reply from Dublin yet who will be there, but I think you will see that it's satisfying to see and see what the young students do
Mhm.
for art. And so there'll be awards and they'll get their ribbons and all that. So, and then it'd be a reception. So you're all invited to attend and see it, but I would encourage you to go by and look at the art.
Yep.
And hopefully it takes a long time to do that. We start about 9:30. Well, I get there about 9 to try to get it a bit organized, but the staff is very helpful and it takes us till at least noon time to even finish it. So we have some people that don't like to stay that long, but it takes that long to place it. And we didn't even hang all the art, because if it's just really on paper, we can't really hang it because it wrinkles and everything like that. So anyway, that is a big job, but it shows that San Ramon is doing their fair share for student art.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that is one of my things. And the other thing too is I belong to the Dublin San Ramon Women's Club, which is part of the international organization worldwide. And our emphasis, which was interesting to see that the 2025 group was emphasizing domestic violence and child abuse. And so that is our main emphasis nationwide, I mean, international also. And so our general president has been going to workshops and everything at the White House or whatever, wherever the meeting is. So that's our emphasis. And so we'll be emphasizing that heavily this year, because we'll have in September, we have a day of service, which will be basically for that. So that would be something that the club is working on that will take a large amount of time.
Commissioner Dollich?
Are there tickets left for Friday night, Kathy, Brad? You know what
Yes,
the-
the jazz.
Yeah, Preservation Hall Jazz Band.
Preservation Hall Jazz, yep. Get your tickets now. There's
Okay.
still spots available and
'Cause
good seats, so.
It is International Jazz Month. April is International Jazz Month, and the Preservation Hall Jazz Band comes from New Orleans, the birth of jazz. So these are seminal artists that really embody, jazz, and it's a worldwide American phenomenon.
Cool.
Good.
All right. Anything else before we adjourn the meeting today? Nope. All right. So thank you, everybody. And so we adjourn the meeting, City of San Ramon Parks and Community Service Commission, regular meeting on April 9, 2025 at 9:39 p.m. Thank you. Good night, everybody.